engines! Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag. All rolling. Stay in. Come on. Bye-bye, on in. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why you wait so long, man? Bottom clear, shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
And in a strange turn of events, guys, we are early on NWP. This week we could, NWP could stand for many things. Like for the longest time, NASCAR Weekly Podcast. This week it's like NASCAR Weekly Pocono. We can do it for whatever. But yeah, we're early. Everyone's, we got a crash green, all that spam green in the chat. Welcome. I am, you know what channel this is. I'm Jarrett Iceberg. Next to me on that side? Yeah, that's that side. Eric Estepp, you know him. And filling in tonight for Danny B on the bottom down
Who's
there.
this guy?
Yeah, it's Jon Ramos here.
Ramos. Oh man, that's
Famous Amos.
Famous Ramos.
If you know, you know.
You got the music quota good to go?
Oh yeah, I got the quota ready.
All right. Well, we got the quota for different NASCAR talking points tonight that we can go over. We'll read. I've seen a ton of super chats in there. We'll read those at the super chat stage break at the probably top of the hour. But let's just get into the big storyline of the week, and that is Chicago. I mean, everything looked perfect this weekend. I saw people sending videos of friends of theirs that lived in the buildings next to the track during the Xfinity race. It's nice and sunny. There's concerts going on all day. And then as soon as the engines fire, it starts raining. It just,
naturally.
I mean, Eric, I'll start with you because you were, I believe, at one of the races, right? Or were you at both?
I was there on Saturday. I was not able to stay for Sunday. Last year I was there for the whole weekend. It was a wash. It was kind of the opposite. Last year began horribly and was so demoralizing watching all the practice or all the races get impacted, but then also watching all the concerts get rained out. Yeah, it was so demoralizing, but it ended on a high note with a really great race and a great battle with an exciting winner. This year was kind of the opposite. Everything was perfect. Saturday was one of the most beautiful weather days I've ever experienced at a racetrack ever in my life. The Xfinity Series race was phenomenal with two world-class drivers duking it out one-on-one most of the afternoon. Deserving winner, great show. Concerts all went off without a hitch. And then, like you said, Jarrett, the moment the Cup race was ready to go green, it all went downhill from there. They still got most of the race in. It wasn't a complete disaster. I've seen people joke this week, baby steps. Last year, we didn't get any of the concerts. At least this year we got the concerts. It's like, yeah, okay, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is this weekend is just cursed. But I really enjoyed myself. I think Saturday showed me what the Chicago street race can be when conditions are reasonable. And that is a really awesome event that hopefully reaches a lot of new fans. At least it gets the attention of a lot of new audiences that otherwise would have had no idea NASCAR was remotely in town or did this sort of thing. So overall, it was a great weekend. The race itself had its moments that weren't so great, but much of that was weather related.
It's unfortunate that every single time on 4th of July we have this issue. And even when Daytona was going through its end of the life cycle of 4th of July, I remember one of the big talking points throughout NASCAR media was they're moving to August because of weather. And in that last Coke Zero race, it was weather impacted from Sunday all the way back from Saturday. Then you had Atlanta last year. Now you're Chicago Street 2 years in a row. There's just something about this weekend that it's just, you cannot catch a break.
Yeah. And I mean, I lived up in Northern Illinois in the nearby area for 23 years, I want to say 24, something like that. And it always would, like in the summer there'd be rain, but I have never seen 2 years in a row where it was just a downpour like that. Now, granted, this one, baby steps, it wasn't record breaking rain. So I guess there's that, but I mean, just as someone who's even lived up there, it's odd to see the same weekend 2 years in a row get hit by that much rain. and I'm seeing in the chat, and I think we'll talk about this in a bit more in depth, I think, because this is the talking point the city wants to kind of go about, which is important, about like moving the date and all that. But about the race itself, I was just thinking it was funny. Like, do we have to move the goalpost for laps again to get the whole race in? Because if you remember,
shortening it.
last year was supposed to be 100 laps. We made it 75, and then we're like, okay, let's do 75. It's a nice clean number. Pretty good rating came in, pretty good time of race. Let's do 75, and we got to 58. I'm like, should we just do like 55 and just see if we can make it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky,
but this race ended basically as a timed race. That they had the strict 820 cut line. Next lap around would be the white. I think Bowman hit it right as he was going over the line, so they basically made it 2 to go. But Alex Bowman, the hack is back in victory lane. Alex Bowman, I think, breaks a 80 race winless streak.
80 races. He had to go all the way back to March of 2022. One of the first next-gen races. He won at Las Vegas. Did not win again. That whole summer was extremely inconsistent. Looked better in the playoffs. Obviously got that concussion. Didn't finish the year. And then back injuries early in 2023. It's been a long road back for Alex, the hack, Bowman. But he's been very quietly consistent this year. Top 10s. Flirting around, 10th to 12th in the regular season standings. He doesn't have the same firepower that his teammates Larson with 3 wins, Byron with 3 wins have, but he's been decent. He's been solid this year. So it was cool to see him finally break through and get that win. And I always love when a driver wins and you can tell it means something to him because, they celebrate through the night, posting at 6 a.m. shirtless. He had the great press conference afterwards. Like, when guys win and it's like, heck yeah, another one for the case. Like, that's boring. I want to see guys like truly celebrate like this is their last win, because that's what I've always said this. Matt Kenseth used to say this a lot towards the end of his career. You never know when a win is going to be your last win. And even these 20, 30-year-olds, I feel like got to think that way as well. The way this sport's constantly evolving and changing. Celebrate like it's your last one. They don't come easy.
What I think is interesting is no one had Bowman really in a lineup to win. It was all the talk about SVG because, SVG won the Saturday race. He did that really well. Larson was doing well at one point. I was on a ride home from Whittemore after broadcasting up in Michigan, and I just remember looking at the standings because we just had it up on the laptop watching the race, and I saw Alex Bowman up there, and to me, it just feels like an odd winner this weekend. I don't remember Alex Bowman ever shocking anyone on a road course. I don't ever remember Alex Bowman doing great things from Sonoma to Watkins Glen. So for him to go out and win at the streets of Chicago is really eye-opening. And that's 2 years in a row now. We've had I guess you could say an upset winner because no one expected SVG to win. Matter of fact, I don't think anyone knew how to pronounce SVG's last name last year. So for Bowman to come out and win, I think is pretty special.
Yeah, he's good at COTA. That's the thing. Bowman will run top 5 at COTA almost every year, but then every other road course, he's just kind of okay. So it is a little bit of a surprise. It is ironic, of course, the chat's been joking about that. Of course, Danny B is not on the show the one weekend. His boy, Alex Bowman, gets the win. So I have to be careful what I say. I think people think I'm an Alex Bowman hater because, I didn't pick him to make the playoffs, for example. But now I have to be really nice to him on the show because Danny's not here to defend him. So there you go. All the people who think I'm an Alex Bowman hater, you're going to be in for a treat tonight.
Actually, more kind of about that. Before I go into it, it just doesn't feel right having an Alex Bowman win, big Alex Bowman moment, and not have Danny say something. But luckily, Danny actually sent me a bit of an address to everybody. So really quick, I'll play that. I'll mute myself here because I don't think you want to hear me over Danny B's wise words of wisdom for the hack.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see this.
Yeah. So here's what Danny had to say, by the way, for all those who are wondering.
Hey there, NWP. It's Danny B here. I'm not on the show this week because, unfortunately, I'm here in Orlando, Florida. Can you believe it? We're on vacation this week, and unfortunately, the place we're staying at has Wi-Fi speeds of 1 to 2 megabytes per second, which means I ain't gonna be able to hop on no Zoom call this week. With that being said, though, buddy Jared here has hooked me up with a chance to give you guys just a quick little bit to talk about this weekend's race. I gotta say, I talked about it on Twitter, and I'm still not particularly a fan of the Chicago Street Course. With that being said, Alex Bowman won, and I'm very happy for him. That's his 8th career win, and in a season where I even didn't see it happening, it shocked me. So I'm happy for Alex Bowman, happy for the 48 team. It's been a long time coming, happy for his fans. It's been a long time since he got a victory. So congratulations to Alex, congratulations to his fans. You guys have been waiting long enough for this. The party was spectacular. Bowman was very happy. I don't think he quite woke up on the floor naked like he thought he would, from at least not as far as anyone could tell from social media. Swimming in a pool all night from what I could tell. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you to Jon for hopping on this week. And yeah, I have found some railroad tracks here in the area. Can you believe it? Danny B, watching trains. See you guys next week.
So in great Danny fashion, he covered much more than just Alex Bowman winning. We have like a 10-second delay, so I just see Eric's face being like, what is he talking about? Wait, what?
I was still listening to the car street racing behind him. I thought that was outside my window at first, and then he addressed. I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah,
and
I'm glad Danny got to chime in though. That's nice.
And I want to say one other funny thing. So on Wednesdays, generally, unless there's news like today, and we'll talk about the Noah news a bit later. Usually, I just focus solely on the show, especially when it's on my channel. So like I'll take, I might sleep in an extra 30 minutes or whatever. I wake up to a text. Danny has texted me this video at 6:30 in the morning, meaning he recorded this at like 6 a.m. And I got to say, Danny, if you were watching, I commend the effort put into it to get up at 6 o'clock while train watching.
He pulled an all-nighter just like Alex Bowman
while
did.
Train watching.
It's called method acting.
Oh man. But real quick, I'll go over talk a little about Alex Bowman. I hope this, at least for the rest of the season, or at least until the playoffs, shuts people up about getting him out of the 48. Like I think he's been overhated. Like we can criticize, like, hey, you're on a team with 3 pretty elite drivers. William Byron winning a Sky, I believe, in the next gen era. It's either him or Christopher Bell. They're always kind of going back. It is
Byron.
Forward.
Yeah, it's Byron.
Yeah, you got 2 champions with Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. The greatest driver of our generation, as people like to either tout or mock. And then you got Alex Bowman, who kind of seems to get left behind in that, but he's not a bad driver. The dude is winning, at one point won 4 races in one season. He looked to be one of the best guys at the next gen early on before injuries basically derailed the good part of the last, I'd say, year and a half for him. And I still don't think he's fully back per se. It takes, no pun intended. God damn it. Every time I talk about Bowman, I always end up saying that. But I really think that, I won't say the floodgates could open, but the fact that this team has been putting themselves in the top 10 just about every week. I mean, I think this is his 11th top 10 in 20 races.
He's second or third in top 10s in the Cup Series this year.
I want to say he's only behind Reddick.
Reddick has the most. I think it's like a 2 or 3 way tie for second.
Yeah. So I hope this gets people like just a little bit off his back about, needing to be replaced, anything like that. Because I really think that when Bowman's on it, he is a top 10 driver in Cup.
Yeah, that's about what I would say. Again, people accuse me of being a hater, and I really don't think so, because I see the actual Alex Bowman haters on Twitter who do call for his job constantly, and I've never done that. He's obviously the 4th guy at Hendrick. Maybe that whole team is the 4th team at Hendrick. I don't know whose fault it truly is. I agree with you that he's been injured for much of the last year and a half, and that has impacted his performance for sure. That's why I didn't pick him to make the playoffs this year, is because he still looked hurt at the end of last year. How was I supposed to know he'd be healthy? But he's good. He's a good driver. There's not a lot of better candidates out there you could hope to replace him with. Like, who else is going to get in that car and run top 10 regularly who's available? Like, look at the free agents this year. You're going to put Todd Gilliland in that car and get better results? No, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a toss-up. You're going to put, Chase Briscoe in that car and get better results?
Ryan Preece
in that car and get better results? People are saying Chase Briscoe is Chase Midsco. Like, is he like, so that, like, Alex Bowman, my point is, you can do a lot worse than Alex Bowman. Is he Larson? Is he Elliott? No, probably never will be. That's okay. He's still a consistent playoff guy every single year, and he should win a race, maybe 2, every single season. And with the exception being last year, that's what he's done pretty much since he got to Hendrick Motorsports.
the big thing is every year from Hendrick's, let's say 2000 season, it seems like there was always that one driver of the four that you could look at and say that was the weak link. At one point it was Casey Mears, then it was before that was Vickers. We could start, throwing stuff in the fire, but Casey
Junior.
Kane, Dale Jr.,
Well, let's be real. It was Junior for 2 years.
There was always that driver. So now that we're at the point when you look at all the drivers here, you see William Byron, Daytona 500 champion, Kyle Larson, champion of the sport. Then you got Chase Elliott, who is also a champion. All three of those drivers, multi-time winners. Bowman just hasn't lived up to the other three, which then comes into question right off of the bat naturally. Is he replaceable? Will he be replaced? And I honestly don't disagree with people considering that, because look at Joe Gibbs at one point. Joe Gibbs had this amazing lineup. They added Eric Jones in, and Jones just came off of an amazing year in Xfinity and then gets replaced by Christopher Bell. And everyone was looking around like, did Jones get his full opportunity? Did he do everything he could? So that's kind of how I see it. Nothing is ever really set in stone, including when you're a big team like Hendrick, because of what you've seen in the past. I think Bowman still has stuff to prove, because yes, a win is great. You're in the playoffs, but your other three teammates are still outperforming you by a wide margin.
My only critique of Bowman this week was, while I loved the snark in his post-race press conference, he's calling out the haters. This is going to shut him up, all that stuff. Like, at the end of the day, I think he should save that for when he wins his second or third race of the season. You win one race where the two favorites got wrecked out and the two guys with better tires wrecked out trying to catch you at the end. Like, I mean, congrats on the win. I don't want to discredit it, but like, let's save the shit talking for when you've done, for when you've won more than one race in 2.5 years. That's all I'd say.
On the other side of the coin, though, you could look at it and be like, man, this dude's confidence is high. We've never heard Alex Bowman actually call people out before. And I want to say this. We learned this interviewing him a couple years ago. The dude has a wicked sense of humor and personality, and it's like he just never is allowed to show it. So it's like, that's just scratching the surface. But like, I remember him telling like a story when we interviewed him about how like he got the security mixed him up for William Byron.
Yeah.
And then he like told us a bunch of stuff afterwards. He's like, yeah, so I can't say this, but this, and this happened, and this, and this. And then he's talking about like, in his interview after the race about how he's going to be found naked on the floor at 6 a.m.
Like, that's the thing is, I want to see him win more, because we'll see this once he's more confident, once he feels more sure of himself. That's the thing is, I think those comments prove that he was doubting himself the last couple of years. Like, the haters got to him. In the back of his mind, he's like, shoot, do I deserve this? Am I living up to the expectations? What are you going to say now? Like, I think it's, if that's what it takes to motivate you, go for it. I by all means. But I hope he wins more, because then we will see more of this silly personality come out. And I like that. We need more of that in the sport.
Danny in the chat, Eric Estepp, known Bowman displeaser, not hater.
I'm just realistic. I'm just being like, what do I have to do? Well,
I remember Danny like 2 weeks ago being like, it's over, it's done, pack it up.
Yeah, but Danny is both the biggest Alex Bowman fan and hater on this freaking show.
Danny's the same way. Danny with Alex Bowman is the same way as he is with Tennessee, where it's like, when it's good, it's like, we're the best out there.
It is so over, and we are so back. Those are the only two moods he has.
Well, he's been a Bowman fan since what, 2018? I think he has more Bowman diecast in the 88 than anyone else.
Yeah.
You've seen that collection.
It's a damn good collection. Now, there was one person who was a bit of a Bowman hater in this race, and that was Bubba Wallace.
He's an actual Bubba hater. Yeah.
He was a Bowman hater.
A Bowman hater. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Bubba Wallace gets into Alex Bowman after the race, kind of roughs him up a little bit. And immediately you go on Twitter and you just see basically the Facebook crowd versus the Twitter crowd on this one. And then you got the rest of us sane people in the middle. Some people calling for him to be suspended, and on the other side, you got people who are saying it's no big deal whatsoever. He should go, harder at him. NASCAR landed on the side of, we're going to fine Bubba Wallace $50,000 for his actions. I already see that. I already see both of your guys' reaction at it. So just whoever wants to go off, because I might just want to sit back and listen.
You have to be consistent. I understand that it didn't look good in the moment, but Chase Elliott versus Denny Hamlin, Denny Hamlin versus Alex Bowman, Martinsville. Both happen to be at Martinsville, pretty big hits. You still had Elliott, yes, with Suarez. It's almost like they looked at a replay like it was an NFL replay of, is he in bounds? Is he not in bounds? Oh, he hit him, but look at the right front of the wheel. Oh, the window net was down. Even though all the seat belts were on still. The thing is, I'm happy they didn't go ahead and penalize points, because I'm looking at the playoff picture right now. If they would have penalized points, everyone, in my opinion, would have had to been a win it or you're in all the way to Darlington and Daytona. But the 50,000, I think, is crazy. Bowman came out and said it really didn't affect him, right?
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace, we know that he's had run-ins with drivers before, but this isn't the Larson incident from Las Vegas in 22. It was a hit. The right front came up a little bit. There wasn't any damage. Bowman was completely fine. I've seen drivers do worse and get away with it. I do not like this move at all. That 50,000 is crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you that it's steep. I think, and I don't know how the rule is written, but if they had fined him 15,000, 25, even 25,000, I might have said, okay, I get it. Because he did hit him kind of hard. It was towards the end of the cool down lap, window nets down. I get it. I understand it. But to your point, the consistency is inconsistent. There's just so many different lines in the sand they've drawn. Like, if you want to show your displeasure in NASCAR now, it's like, okay, can I spin someone out during the race? Well, yes, as long as you don't make it too obvious, and as long as you don't admit that it was on purpose afterwards. Except Kyle Busch did admit that he intentionally wrecked Stenhouse after the fact and didn't get a penalty. So, okay, sometimes we look the other way there as well. If you want to fight a guy after the race, you better make sure you both have just gotten out of your car. Otherwise, if you stew for any significant amount of time, we'll fine you $75,000 like they did Stenhouse earlier this year. If you want to hit a guy after the race, yeah, you can bump him a whole lot like Truex did Hamlin at Richmond. You can basically kamikaze the guy like Truex did to Johnson at the Roval 6 years ago, whenever that was. But, if you wedge him into the wall, I guess that's a no-no. That's where we draw the line. Okay,
and don't do it under caution.
Interesting. Yeah, and then don't do it under caution, except Larson, basically doored Hamlin at Pocono under caution last year, got no penalty.
Byron versus Denny at Texas as well.
He did that one. He did get a penalty, I believe. Now the appeals panel changed it after the fact, but initially he did get a penalty. But my point is, like, it is so inconsistent. Do I like what Bubba did to Bowman? No, there are better. He should have answered Bowman's phone calls during the red flag or texted him back or sought him out. That should have been handled then. I agree. And I get that NASCAR doesn't like that he sat there for 2-3 hours stewing over an early race incident and then hashed out. I get that they don't like premeditated acts of violence, but in the big picture, what he did to the 48 there wasn't. They were going like 15 miles per hour. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that wasn't, to me, that was exactly the same as what Chase Elliott did to Denny Hamlin in 2017 at Martinsville. He wedged him up into the fence. They both had their window nets down, and then they got out and confronted each other. Like, no penalty for Elliott then. I don't feel there should have been certainly this steep of a penalty for Bubba now. A fine, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Dale Jr. said as much. I agree with Dale on that. But $50,000, that seems really steep. This is where I feel NASCAR needs to reinstitute some sort of like warning or probation system, because then it would have been absolutely just.
Honestly, that wouldn't even have justified probation back in the day. Like that. The only defense I've seen for it was from Jeff Gluck. Now, granted, he was in the minority on it, according to him. And with that, he had brought up Dale Jr. and Carl Edwards in 2006. Now don't get me wrong. I'm somebody who loves to harken back to the mid 2000s, but if you're looking at something that happened 18 years ago,
that's the thing. Every example I just gave, and I just gave about 8 very inconsistent examples, all happened in the last 6 years or 7 years.
I mean, 18 years is the last time that anyone who can really say why this gets penalized. And to bring up, why didn't Chase Elliott have anything come at him after this race for doing something similar?
Well, I don't think Elliott deserved anything.
I don't think any of them did.
I think if they'd hit Bubba with a $15,000 fine, I would say, okay, that's fair. But 50, I get that these guys, I don't know what Bubba's salary is. He's probably making a few $1 million a year, if I had to guess. Maybe more. I don't know what his endorsements look like.
He's got those Mac bucks lately.
Yeah, maybe. But so he's going to be fine. But it's still just it's still steep. And I guess my bigger picture concern is it's going to deter other drivers from showing their emotion. Guys rub each other after the checkered flag almost every single week. And now people are going to be afraid if they slightly cross the line, apparently, that they're going to be $50,000 or more poorer. And for some drivers, $50,000 makes a difference. Carson Hocevar getting fined $50,000, deservedly so, last week. He's going to feel that a little more. He's a 21-year-old rookie without all the endorsements Bubba Wallace has. That $50K, he'll notice. And I don't want him to feel deterred. Like, within reason, guys should be able to show emotion. And I don't think what Bubba did to Bowman was exceptionally dangerous. Window nets were down. I get it, but we've seen other contact with window nets down, and they weren't penalized for that.
This year, I think we saw more egregious post-race action, if you will, and that was kind of like Truex's reign of terror in the last lap at Richmond.
Yeah, he doored Larson and then went out and knocked the back of Hamlin's car 3 or 4 times. Like, where was the outrage then? I don't know. I don't get it.
But
so
NASCAR being consistently inconsistent, tradition that is tried and true ever since 1949. Now, we did talk a bit about the weather here, and I want to go over really quick before we talk more about the guys who were up front after it got wet. But NASCAR giving them the option between having slicks or having the damp, wet weather tires. I think that's what we really asked for after New Hampshire a ton, is like give the teams the option. And we saw some teams pay the price for it, who decided to go. I believe they are on the wets, and the track dried, and they paid the price terribly. Within 17 laps, I think guys like Byron, I think Logano, might have been Burton, like 6 or 7 guys were lapped down.
McDowell, I think, was one of them. Yeah, and he's
running like the White Sox.
Yeah, well, he ended up with a top 5, right? I was impressed.
That's the best.
That they came back from that.
That's the best the White Sox will do all year. Sorry,
they're going to finish
Cubs
top
fan.
5. They'll finish top 5 in their division.
Hang the banner! Woo! We finished.
We exist.
Oh man, maybe in Nashville in 5 years. Sorry, Cubs fan, got to be a certified hater.
Love those rumors.
If they move to Nashville, you can root for them, Jarrett?
No, but I already have a plan. I'm going to be that asshole that buys tickets right behind home plate, and every freaking pitch raises a W flag because the Cubs ultimately were the winners.
Oh my God, they've won the battle for Chicago.
I will be the hater in that. All right, but
okay.
Moving back to the the race itself, I was happy with that. I hope that's the precedent moving forward, unless it's for like an especially crazy situation outside of all the teams in NASCAR's control.
Yeah, no, I like that they gave them the option. The pitting under very wet conditions on a live pit road was interesting, considering the explanations we got a week ago at New Hampshire. I think going forward, I mean, they made it work. Nobody got hurt, but I feel like you're playing with fire there. So I don't know what the right call, like next road course or short oval with rain. Do you do live pit stops? I don't really know. It's a hard call. They made it work this time, but it does seem dangerous, and I hate to hold their hand, but that's the only thing that was, again, inconsistent in my opinion, was how they managed live pit road.
I mean, there could be rules to mitigate that issue. Like, what were the rules this time around for the live pit stops? Were they allowed over the wall while it was wet?
I think beforehand? So. They were allowed to have like 1 or 2 crew members already over the wall. Like everyone was like holding tires already over pit roads. They did have, that's true. They did modify the rules slightly. So maybe that's good enough. I don't know. Well,
as long as they're not jumping over the wall and planting on a wet surface, trying to make a 8-9 second stop. I mean, I don't think that's a big issue. I definitely can see how that can be an issue at like a Bristol or even a Las Vegas. But road course, I mean, what's the next road course would be Watkins Glen now, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty decent sized racetrack. So
yeah,
to me, it wouldn't be that big of an issue.
Now, one of the things that happened, I believe, all after the rains, and even at the end of the race too, is all the favorites wrecked out of this race. If you look at the bottom 5, it was pretty much a who's who. It's like SVG was down there. He finished last. I have the damn results here. I don't even have to guess at it. Kyle Larson was down there. AJ Allmendinger, Christopher Bell. This is the bottom 5 from 36th to 40th. Josh Berry, who was deservedly back there.
He was terrible.
Yeah. Christopher Bell, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Larson, Shane Van Gisbergen. That was your bottom 5.
Yeah, it was such a bummer to see SVG taken out the way he was. Just, Briscoe, I don't know that even Briscoe made a mistake. I guess he did. He did make a mistake, perhaps. But it's so easy. We saw dozens of guys overstep in the wet like that. And that was the hardest it had rained pretty much all race long. I just feel bad that tiny mistake not only hurt Briscoe's race, but also more importantly ended SVG's because I mean, I can talk about now or even during the Xfinity race. Shane Van Gisbergen was the most popular driver in Chicago this weekend. And you could see
You'd hear it.
The crowd after the rain delay was about 25% of what it was before the rain delay. And, some of that is it's raining. Let's go home. We don't want to get soaked. But I think a lot of that was because Shane Van Gisbergen wrecked out. Last year, there was delays, not during the race, but the race started really late and the crowd was packed from start to finish, even though it rained on us during the race last year, lightly, but it did. So Shane Van Gisbergen, he was the storyline I felt all weekend long. Xfinity race, he got more cheers than Larson. For him to get crashed out early by no fault of his own was just disappointing. That part was like, oh man, I really wanted him to see this one through.
They hit the second call lead car. Nah, man. I mean, I as somebody who picked him, I was like, I saw Briscoe fly in, and I'm thinking like, damn, that was close. Like, I almost got Shane. It almost looked like he kind of got loose. And then they show him stopped. I'm just like, damn it. Like, and even just from an outside observer too, I'm just, damn it. Like, I don't think he had the best car. I'm just going to say it now.
No, probably not.
He was the
best driver.
Yeah. I think that Bell was faster than him in the Cup race in just about every
Straight
way.
up. He might have been, yeah.
And I don't want to do too much of like a eulogy here for SVG because, I mean, Larson too flies into the same corner, goes head on right into the tire barrier. And then Bell at the end, charging up to the pack, gets collected in just a weird incident with, I believe, Truex. I think Hocevar was up there.
Stenhouse, I think, got into Truex. There was a stack up on the outside lane as Bell was trying to scoop by on the bottom, and then he just gets hooked because he was in the wrong place, wrong time, which really stunk. Bell has had probably the best car 3 weeks in a row. He has 1 win and 2 virtual DNFs. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it was just basically they just kept getting knocked down like dominoes, and at the end, Tyler Reddick just took himself out chasing after Bowman. I mean, he just overshot it. It was I think somebody put on Twitter, it was like Alex Bowman versus Tyler Reddick, seeing who can throw away the win the quickest. Both of them got in the wall on the last lap. It was just Reddick who flew up into it and pretty much junked himself.
Reddick's mistake was just so unusual. I don't think we saw anyone hit the inside wall like that at any point during the race. It sucks. I like Tyler Reddick a lot. He's obviously extremely talented. He's up to 3rd in points, so it's hard to be like critical of him. But last lap at Nashville, he was kicking himself for not choosing a different lane to try and scoop by Logano or put Logano on the defense. Obviously, Chicago makes a big mistake. Go back to Darlington a couple months ago, blew that race and took Buescher out with him. So he's earning a reputation. He's getting the absolute most out of that car until the final lap, and then he's throwing these races away, unfortunately. And it's a trend. It is a trend. I'm not going to use the CH word that people love to use because I feel like that's really strong and can be taken extremely negatively. But he has made a lot of mistakes in the closing laps of clutch crunch time to win races, and has not won as a result.
He is racing for Denny, so he
man,
might be heir apparent. Yeah. I mean, I remember I was at a race that he threw away. I was at a couple races he's won. I was at Kansas last year. I was at Road America when he won.
I was at Coda last year. He held on there, won.
But I was also at Bristol Dirt with him and Briscoe.
Yeah,
Kyle Busch.
That wasn't his fault so much.
I mean, he was involved though. He ended up losing.
Yeah, he did. It broke at the Clash in 2022. I remember it looked like he was going to win that race.
It's just he's very much in the same vein as guys like Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson, where they're going to go for broke. They're just going to put it all out there. If we win, we win. If we finish 30th trying to win, we finish 30th. And I can respect that. I might make a few jokes, and stabs here, but I can also respect a driver who's actually going to look really damn good out there, even if they fail doing it.
It's like, go ahead, John.
It's interesting because I don't know how to feel about Tyler Reddick. He can execute, but he just hasn't been executing recently. And the win at Talladega was interesting. Obviously, there was a huge wreck at the end, and he was just the first one to the line. But I even look now towards, I think it was at Homestead 2020. He was beating himself up on the last lap and just forgot to go. He thought the race was over.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
He
so
forgot.
yeah, he just stopped going and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys." And then the spotter in his ears tell him to keep going.
Yeah,
So
I forgot that was him.
I know he can execute. I just feel like recently it's just been really bad. He's gonna be a final, but I wouldn't say final four. He definitely will be in the round of 8, in my opinion,
He's
for
on
what's
track,
there to
yeah.
go.
hmm
But I don't see him going winless till the end, the regular season. I think he's gonna possibly get one more just because he's been put in position. And he's right now the flagship driver at 2311. He is once again consistently in position, and we don't know what's gonna happen at Indy because we don't have much data at Indy really anymore. We ask guys racing the Gen 6, but who knows what the next gen's gonna race like. I'm curious to see what Reddick does. I don't think it's doom and gloom, and maybe because of how the playoffs work, I still am optimistic because no one had Ryan Blaney winning the championship last year by the round of 12. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, he was right in the discussion.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to shout this out. Garrett Buki left a $50 super chat. We'll read the rest at the top of the hour in the super chat stage break. But since we're on the topic of favorites being taken out, he puts scenario. You're an Aussie. You just woke up. You open your phone immediately to see how your homeboy did overseas, and then it hits you. Last place. Confused, you watch the replay to see one of them dumb NASCAR plebs wipe him out. You mumble, crikey. Sorry.
Right.
Just-
That's is that based on a true story, Garabuki? If so, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I saw that, and like as you guys were going, I had to read that. But
Yeah, that is funny. Thanks for sharing.
But I mean, there were like 5 or 6 guys who I thought could on speed run up there and for the win. SVG, Larson, Bell, Reddick, Ty Gibbs led the most laps in this race. He was fast.
Yeah, there you go.
And there were a couple others too. I mean, like let's also be real. Bowman was in the top 10 all day. He wasn't.
He was legit probably the 6th, the 7th or 8th best car, or
Yeah.
maybe 5th. I might even go 5th.
I'd say he was the best one that was not in that group of favorites. He was the only one that
Yes.
could kind of link the two together. So it put himself in the position there. But
Yeah.
it was just, I mean, a lot of it did have to do with the weather. And I think we can kind of go into that now. The weather, I think, threw everybody for a loop because we saw it on Tuesday last week when we did the show that was like, oh, okay, 30% chance, might be a little rain here or there. You know, I was going up north, you know, that's where I was all last week. And so I'm like, oh, you know, it's still looking like a 10, 20% chance in the Midwest in summer. You know, you can get some pop-ups or whatever, nothing major. And then just a day of giant ass line of storms just rolls in. And it's like, are you serious?
Yeah, it was unreal. A little shower here or there I was prepared for, but
Yeah.
a massive cell that just kept building on top of itself. I get that Lake Michigan's right there. It's kind of what happened last year, but that was not in the forecast. That was unexpected.
And part of what this did is it brought back, you guys ready to have a little time travel here? Let's go back to 2022 with our talking points. Stage cautions at road courses. Should they
don't need
be
them.
there?
No, we know they don't need them at this point. And a lot of people were mad. Why didn't they just get rid of the stage yellow once they knew there were only 30 minutes left in the race? It's like, no, at that point you've made your bed. I don't think you change the rule then. I know it feels annoying in the moment, but I think you got to stick with the rule as it is. But yeah, overall, we saw last year they don't need them. I'd like to see them go away at road courses and super speedways.
I'll put a poll out there, see what they think. Plus, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna put stage yellow's caution or question with yes or no. Sometimes I dislike seeing them run up the score. But the part that I will say that I would have been okay with NASCAR changing the rules on the fly, even though I'm not crazy about them bending it, is we ran like 4 laps under caution to end stage 1. And then we did pit stops, and then we ran more caution laps.
Yeah, that dragged. They could have done that differently. I think they were just scared of the. Yeah, they were scared of. I think of the weather that was building on top of itself, and they were kind of. I think they were just sort of scared and not sure what to do. Do we like red flag it now? Because if Was that, maybe I'm wrong about this, wasn't it a couple laps later they did red flag it? Wasn't that right before SVG's wreck?
I think no. They red flagged, I thought, after he wrecked. They tried going back racing, and it looked like Coda. He wrecks, and then they red flag it.
Was the Coda restart the start of stage 2? That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what it was. I think they were looking at like, damn, maybe we should red flag it. And they're like, no. So they meandered, waited. Okay, let's
I guarantee you the debate was about if we restart this thing and we pile them up into turn 1, are we going to look like just the biggest clown show in the world? I think everything that happened from Daytona in 2022 has dictated every rain situation since. I'm just being honest, because let's say they went back going right away and then a huge cell comes up and now you have 16, 17 cars just piled into turn 1. It goes from this was a big success for the second year in a row to wow, this is what NASCAR is about.
I've thought this since 2017 when like a caution will end it like a lap early. Like, do we really need to spend that extra lap or so just puttering around so we can have the same results we've had the last 4 laps? We're at a road course. Like, it went 32 minutes. That was how long that caution combined was. We spent over a half hour going around at 45 miles per hour through Grant Park, where if we would have just said, okay, caution ends it, there you go, lap 17, whatever. Like, I get if it's like the end of stage 2 is making the race official, stuff like that. Like, okay, like I can get that. But can we at least make an exception for stage 1 where it's like, cut it off there, it's over. Yeah, sure, somebody might have, I don't know, like had a flat tire, run out of gas, something like that. They changed the rules during the race, like with the restarts, for instance, going from double file to single file. Among other things, is it really that big a deal to bend it in stage 1 to get more of the race in? Because I feel like if they would have just called it there, had him pit, and let him go back racing again, maybe they all would have biffed it into turn 1 or 6, each time or something like that. Or maybe they would have gotten extra 6, 7 laps in, and the people at the track who paid a lot of money to sit out in the rain could have seen all but 8 scheduled laps instead of, in this one, 17, for instance. It's something to look at. I still, the root cause here is let's just not have stage yellows at road courses. We don't need them. We just need to fix the car. That's the whole crux of the issue. Yeah. And even then, the racing, I think wasn't as good as Xfinity, but I thought the racing on Sunday was much better than most road courses.
Yeah, no, it's Chicago street race has arguably been like the best road course race 2 years in a row. Cup ended. I don't know about Xfinity off the top of my head, but Cup for sure.
And I guess finishing off with the Cup side of it before we kind of go more into the rest of the weekend here is, I don't know about you guys, but I saw a lot more support in general from the local side of things, including the mayor being there in a fire suit. I saw Peter's in the chat. He sent me a picture of him like on the grid in a full-on NASCAR fire suit from like neck down to his toes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what? I just wish that the dumb conversations could get taken out. Like we are last year they took out the, no, that we will not destroy the paintings with the noise. We won't do that. No, we won't hit the buildings.
Yeah.
It seems like majority of people are at least cool with it. The mayor who ran against Lori Lightfoot in his election showed up in pretty much force, I would say.
He for lack of a better phrase, he took a victory lap over something he did not actually negotiate.
Yes, he did. Well, and to be fair, I think they did negotiate NASCAR to pay a little more to the city.
He did. That's a good point. He did. NASCAR is paying a little bit more now to put this on. But
it's like now, and I knew this going in because this is just how Chicago politics always have been. They're asking for more money. They're like, I think last year, we talked about it last week. Last year, they made like over $100 million in revenue, like just all over the Chicago economy from this race after having to pay like $3 million.
From what I've seen, at least on, I'm going to use that word, the political scene. Ooh. I don't know if he was truly against it. It was probably more of, the person, my opponent, is for it, so I'm going to be against it and try to see if I can win out. But at the end of the day, everything is renegotiable. You can hate something, you can despise it, And then you go back to the table like you just mentioned, and oh yeah, I have no problem. Heck, bring NASCAR every year for sure. And the question now is, does this become a consistent tradition? I saw some talk on Twitter of people saying that this feels like a crown jewel. I don't know if it's there yet. It can get there in the next couple of years if they stick it at Chicago Street, but I still am optimistic and curious, what is the next positioning? Is Chicago going to come back for the third year? And if it comes back for the third year, what about the fourth year? Does the fan and the local support continue to grow? After this week and after how the racing and the rain went, I'm pretty shocked to see how much support we had at the checkered flag.
At the race itself, I mean, signage and stuff around the city or during the weekend and leading up was about the same as last year. But from what I heard, talking to even some people who live like a couple blocks away, is the construction time, I guess, was cut down significantly. It was cut down by like a full week at least. And in fact, most of the roads were not closed until like 3 or 4 days before the Xfinity race. Like they did a much better job this year being less intrusive than in years past or than the previous year. And I think that likely won over a lot more local residents. I do have one funny story. I was telling people at the track, like I had my Uber driver from Midway, the southern Chicago airport, to my hotel, which is like right in the city, right in the center of it. He was like this guy, didn't really speak English very well or anything. And, I get in the car, we're starting to meander on the streets. I can see his map, and he kept turning the opposite of where the app was telling him to, because he expected Lakeshore Drive to be open and some of these other streets. And like the first time it's like closed, and he's like, oh, the road's closed. Okay. So he turns around, no big deal. I see him make another turn. Of course, the road's closed again. He goes, why is it closed? He goes again. Third time, he's like, there's no way these roads are closed. Sure enough, the roads are closed. He's like, I see him in the front seat just go. He makes one more turn, and finally he asks, he's like, why are the roads closed? And I go, I'm like, what do I say? I'm wearing a NASCAR t-shirt. I'm like, I don't know. I guess there's something going on in the city, is what I said. Eventually we got to my hotel, but I felt bad for that guy. So I hope for most Uber drivers, it wasn't as big of an inconvenience as it apparently was for my poor Uber driver, at least on that route. But here's the thing. I flew in on Friday, and this he must Uber drive pretty regularly, likely through the city quite regularly. And it's like he had just now realized that all these roads were closed, which suggests that, again, NASCAR did a good job of not closing all the roads until just a few days before. So it wasn't as big of an inconvenience as last year. So I think it'll be back for year 3. I think beyond year 3, the question is, will it be on July 4th weekend? Because I think if NASCAR or the city or whoever are willing to move it to a different weekend, maybe another weekend in July, maybe June, maybe August, I think this event has real staying power. I think being on July 4th is sort of a hurdle that they're able to clear for now, but eventually there will be pushback. So that's the only thing. As for, is this a crown jewel? I think it's knocking on that door. I think it's a bigger crown jewel than any Talladega race right now. I think it's on par with the Bristol night race. I would compare it to the Bristol night race right now in terms of crown jewel stats, because Bristol's not a crown jewel, but it's kind of like that next tier that people say when Indy went away, now it's back. But when Indy, the Brickyard 400 went away, everyone's like, what's the next one? It's like, well, maybe Talladega, maybe Bristol night, maybe Chicago street course. It's a huge deal. Last year was the second most watched race.
Oh, we lost Eric.
Yeah, I was worried. I thought that was me.
This year. Oh, did I crash?
Yeah, you. Well, maybe
troubled
like that.
Well, I don't know what point I was making, but other than I do think this is knocking on the door of being a crown jewel race.
For me, I think the whole point is that's making it big though is July 4th. After Daytona was taken off, that was the big question. Like, what do? We had Brickyard for a year, then we had Road America. And then the big question is like, what on the NASCAR side is going to draw new people in? Because let's be honest, Daytona draws new people in, and what's going to draw those hardcore NASCAR fans in? I think that it's much more heavily weighed on this one towards the new side. I can't really put it in crown jewel yet, because I mean you're putting it in the same bin as Daytona 500, Southern 500, Coke 600. If you want to put the Brickyard back up there, I can't do that. I mean, I
think it's equal to the Brickyard, and I would argue it's almost equal to the Southern 500 for the exact opposite reason. The Southern 500 is a big deal because it's historic. It's been around for decades. very old track. This being such a new and radically different thing for the sport that overall has been widely embraced. It's not like Bristol Dirt, where a lot of people hated it. Even like big fans hated it. It's not like the Roval, which is kind of like, it's a parking lot track. Like, what is this? Like, this is such a monumental moment for the sport that seems to be working. That's why I think it could sneak into that tier.
I think it could if it were a long-term thing, and if it can survive outside of a holiday weekend with a lot of traffic. Because let's think,
that's my last point is, again, being there the last 2 years, there's like no 4th of July festivities. They don't lean into the 4th of July shtick at all at the track. There's nothing about it that screams 4th of July. So that's why I think this weekend could survive just about any time in the summer.
I think it could survive. I can't say that an event that's never actually went to its conclusion yet is a crown jewel. I can't do it.
That's fair.
And I get that this is a huge historic moment for NASCAR, and I get it's something that's working and different things like that. But you have a crown jewel in some way or another has to have some kind of tradition with it. You said you put it on the same as like Darlington or the Brickyard. Darlington has been, at one time, the Southern 500 was the biggest event on the schedule, and it's like the first super speedway basically race, as NASCAR put it. Indianapolis.
This is the first street race. I'm saying it's like for the opposite reason. If you're going to factor in tradition, then yeah, no, Chicago's got a way to go. But if you factor in like just significance, I would argue that the Chicago street race is extremely significant. This is a huge moment in the sport's history that, if it continues to go relatively well, is going to change the trajectory of stock car racing.
I agree with that. I think it's because of how different it is. It's something else entirely. Like I don't think you can put it in the same bin as any of those, because for one, it is because of the newness factor. I don't think it necessarily downgrades it. It's just it's so unique. And I think uniqueness doesn't make it a crown jewel, but I think it makes it special. If that does kind of get
almost across. Like when they brought out the Roval.
Yeah, I mean the first couple of years of the Roval were accepted and pretty fun, and then it wore off. I think that if you figure out the right way to make it go long term, it can be that crown jewel.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's already close to like Bristol Night Race tier, which is not a crown jewel, but it is a unique, very special race. But I'm with you. It's not there yet. I'm just saying 5-6 years from now, let's have a conversation. I like
how you mentioned new though, because technically the first race in America was on that layout somewhere, not the exact layout.
It was
obviously
one of those streets. Yeah, there was some sort of like.
Yeah, the first motor race
they used.
I believe. Yeah, the first motor race in America was like down. It was on, I believe, one of those streets. I can't remember exactly what it was. It's been so damn long, guys. I just can't remember. But. For that reason, I guess you can. I guess you could add historic value for that connection. It's a very loose connection. I don't think it needs to be considered a crown jewel for people that think it's special. I mean, like we said, Darlington's a crown jewel. Nobody watches the Southern 500 as much as we want to say. More people watch the spring race. Like that's just statistics show that. Last year, I believe, not even 2 million people watched the Southern 500, but this past year, it was like closer to 3 million watched the Goodyear 400.
Throwback race.
Yeah, the Goodyear 400. Like, so I feel like it'd almost be better for this event not to be compared to big events that NASCAR fans love, so that it can be sort of that special gateway in. And if it moves, and if it's like Pittsburgh or Denver, wherever else there might be that street race, like even if it's just a rotating event, like it can be NASCAR's rotating event, it still can be special. And I think that's what NASCAR needs. NASCAR has so many races that just wash together. I mean, if you look at the summer, I mean, it's just it's cool to us, like us diehards, but like what person's going to be like, oh boy, guys, it's New Hampshire. Like no one gives a damn. Like no one cares. But like Chicago, like that is, again, anecdotal evidence here. Like there were people that I knew when I went back up there, not even NASCAR fans, and are like, yeah, so Chicago street race is back this year. What do you think about this, and this, or this and that? And it's like, I think that's just, it makes that so different. I want it to be different. Like if you're going to do this, let's make this special, because I feel like crown jewels alone don't make those races special. There's another factor to it.
Yeah.
Very long-winded. I apologize.
That's okay. Good way to wrap it up. I didn't want to keep dragging on without repeating myself.
Yeah, I feel like I was talking in a circle there. But when we could talk about one other big aspect. I'd said if we didn't get hung up on something, we'd go really quick through this show. I say this every week. But the playoffs, to keep the big picture part of it here alive. The cut line, let's be honest, is not all that compelling at the moment as it's laid out. You got really on screen, there's just 4 that are sort of on that bubble, and even then, Ty Gibbs plus 84, Chastain 53, and then Buescher and Bubba 45 apart. I think the interesting part is if we do get that, sneaking in winner that's sub 20th. It's only 8 points here between Chastain and Buescher for 15th and 16th, which could be 16th and 17th. So I don't know if
that makes it interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. There's really too much more to add to that part of it.
No, there's a couple guys down there that can win for sure. You look at Eric Jones. You see what he's done. Did I freeze or did Eric freeze?
That's Eric again.
Okay, so Jared's still there.
Yeah, I got
I
you,
look
buddy.
I look at Eric Jones and I'm like, okay, Darlington, he's won there twice now, even though Legacy has done absolutely nothing. You look at Justin Haley. I know that's such a random one to talk about, but Daytona, he's won there with a 77. I mean, we understand it was because of rain, but let's be honest. I think Daytona is now once again due for another rain for Coke Zero. There was not a single cloud in the sky last year. And you start realizing things can change. Chastain has not won this year. As of this moment, he's going to have a breakout win at some point. But is it before the playoff cut? Is it after the playoff cut? I'm curious to see really how this runs down, including with Darlington being that final race, because there are some guys that are good at Darlington that have not won this year.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Jones alone. I mean, that one alone you can look at, like you said. I'm just trying to think, too. That I mean, there's Bubba Wallace last year was running top 5 at the end at Darlington, too. So it can stay interesting at the moment or long term with it, the next 8 weeks, if you include the Olympic break. But, man, I feel like there's one more crazy winner left. I don't know who it is. I don't know what race it is. I mean, Pocono, I think at the moment has stayed sunny in the forecast, but if there's a rain in the middle of that one, I mean, we saw crazy winners before because of that. So it's going to be, I think, something very, very intriguing if we do get that crazy winner. Something else that's intriguing really quick. We got a lot to catch up on this one. 2 weeks worth here on the TV ratings front. And for the most part, it's pretty good, all things considered. They finally reported it from last week, but 3.3 million watched Nashville, so that was up 3% from 2023. Now, granted, that was the NBC portion. I didn't have any info for the USA. But the fact that it was up from last year, even with the rain delay, with everything else all considered, pretty damn good. Xfinity Chicago was the most watched Xfinity race in NBC since 2015. It had a 1.0 rating, 1.8 million viewers on NBC and the Cock, up 55% in ratings and 53% in viewership. And the last time there was a race this watched on NBC was Homestead 2015. And if you add them all together here, it was the 4th most watched NBC Xfinity race ever, behind that Homestead race and the 2 non-rained out Daytona races for NBC back in the 2001 to 2006 contract years. I believe the years were 02 and 06 because 04 got rained out to a Monday. So pretty damn good ratings overall for Xfinity this past weekend. Chicago, on the other hand, it was down year over year, 2.1 rating, 3.87 million viewers. These numbers, for the most part, all come from the first 20 laps, though. So in that, it was down 18% from 2023 in viewership, 17% in ratings, 35% higher than any average NBC race last year. And it peaked at the time that they went to the red flag at 4.3 million viewers. If you remember last year, I think peaked at close to 6 million at the end. So if this runs, I think somebody did an estimate that it was on pace to be about 2 or 3% off, which is still really damn good. I think that's like 4.6 million viewers, which would have put it, I think, the second most watch of the year. It ended up being the 5th most watch race of the year so far. So all things considered, for everything that I think actually went more against it during the race this year than last, really, really good numbers from Chicago. It's going to be interesting to see what channel it's on next year. If NBC does want to retain it and try and move it from the 4th of July weekend and change the contract, or if TNT is going to be like, hell no, we want this. I can't wait to I actually can't wait to see what they got in store next, even if it's the last year of it overall. What do you guys think?
I would say NBC definitely wants to keep it because Homestead 2015 feels like forever ago. I remember being at that Xfinity race. The fact that was the highest watched one was pretty interesting.
God,
I'm thinking TNT is definitely going to go for it because they're now fresh out of the gate again with the sport. Why not get a race, an event that you know will draw eyes, including when you have this new bracket tournament going through the works? It's going to be an interesting situation. I don't like the rain. The rain is consistent year in, year out, whether it's Daytona, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Atlanta. I think for the event to survive, it's got to move into an area where historically there hasn't been a lot of precipitation.
This is where you kind of get an issue with it, though. So it can snow in northern Illinois all the way up to the start of May. I mean, I remember one year I had a snow day and it was like April, like I think 28th or something. It was like really late in the year. Yeah, we had like I think like 8 inches of snow overnight. It's an off chance, but it is. Illinois weather's pretty ugly from October until start of May. So like the only thing I can think of is like, I mean, you could move it to the end in August where it's super freaking hot. That could be an option, because you can't put it during September. I just don't think you can. Chicagoland, I think, proved it. It was an absolute failure because there's just too much sports in the market. You had, as bad as the Cubs or Sox ever are, you're going to have people watching them either on TV or in person. The Bears, no matter how they do, are always going to be king with sports there. So you kind of just got to keep it in the summer. You got to keep it July or August. And if you want to not, there goes the sirens, impact, if you don't want to impact the 4th of July, it probably has to be way later in the summer or in June so you can tear everything down before then, which then you run into other issues. So you're I think you kind of have to leave it the 4th with the contract the way it is and all that next year.
Unless NASCAR wants a double wild card weekend heading into the playoffs where they because right now Chicago Street is not predictable, in my opinion. I know SVG is really good there. But let's say you get Chicago Street leading into Daytona. The memes will be hilarious how both 4th of July events go to basically the regular season finales. That is a possibility, but then you run into the Nashville issue where it's insanely hot. The field's 105 and you're just looking for some type of shade.
Yeah, it's just dates-wise. There's only so many you can fill before you're just going to have iffy ones. But we can talk more about that later. We'll talk a bit about the Xfinity race after we go through the poll real quick. 15,000 of you guys voted. 15% said great to 50 good, so 65% net positive. 19% said average. 9 and 7 for below average and bad, so 16% net negative on the day. And ask you guys now, positive, negative, or meme, what'd you guys think, or a mix of any of them, that the first comment was?
Probably negative.
Let's go negative.
It's Calypso. It's the Calypso commenter.
Should have been a meme. I should have known whose channel we were on or what happened with the weather.
Calling me my full legal name and everything. Saying that they would send the rains to Chicago if I didn't finish the NASCAR romance novel. And guess what? You didn't finish it. Now more drivers and teams must suffer in Chicago as a result. Finish the novel or I send the rains to the brickyard.
Just finish the book, Jared. Damn it.
No. Now, and I know that the chat's going to go absolutely nuts with that. Looking at a couple of the comments here. I think we might. Hold on. I'm coming across fine, right? Because the internet crapped out on my phone.
It was happening to me too. There's something going on in our area. I just want to point that out.
I don't think it's just our area. I think it's actually a YouTube issue too.
Okay.
All right. Top comment here from K Massey. 2023 Eric. Let's go to Chicago. It'll be fun. Record-breaking rain. 2024 Eric. Let's go to Chicago. Surely it won't rain again. Rains again, and they don't get the full race in. Moral of the story. Eric, please stay the hell out of Chicago.
If that's what it takes, I'll stay home next year.
Official Riley here says Lewis Hamilton ends multi-year winless drought. Alex Bowman ends multi-year winless drought. Both races had rain during it. Coincidence? I think not. Tank Slapper says Stuart Haas Racing was a wrecking ball today, but none of their shenanigans involved Noah Gragson, funny enough.
I know, that's what the irony is thick.
Let's see. That's right. We didn't even talk about Joey Hand here. Like Spencer says, Joey Hand stage win chaos. The 60th stage of the year was won by the 60 car.
That's a really wacky stat. I love that 2 non-cup regulars won the both stages.
What did 2 non-Xfinity regulars win the stages in Xfinity, or did SVG get one? Because I think Larson won one of them.
I think SVG got one, but I don't know. Somebody let us know.
Let's see. Sammy says it was all right. NASCAR did what they could.
It's about right. It's accurate.
NASCAR diehard fan says 15 out of 10. It was entertaining. Let's see. There's a lot of these. I'm trying not to find the ones that are just giant long comments here. Paz Waffles says timed racing equals great. I hope that's the way they go about it from this point forward.
Yeah, it was good that they gave everyone such advanced warning.
Let's go down to the gutter. By the way, we had over 500 commenters on this one, so shout out to you guys at home for just going all out. Oh my God, the Calypso comment was actually one of the ones downvoted the most.
Nice.
I didn't even do anything either. Okay, so there's one of them. Anthony here says Mickey Mouse win, period.
Don't tell Danny.
And then Ghosty here with the lowest comment saying Wash driver walks into a win. What an effing joke.
Washed.
I wouldn't say washed.
No.
He's like just entering his prime. You may not think his prime is that good, but say that if you want to be critical. Don't just make things up.
Now that I think about it, I think every pass for the win technically at Chicago Street has come through turn 3 and 4. Am I wrong? Look back to SVGs, the sweeper of 3 and the hard braking zone of 4.
Yeah, that one very odd entry. Bowman, I'm surprised he made
that's a hard part of the racetrack. I don't see Bowman being washed if he can somehow manage that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't either. But I've been a bit of a Bowman defender. Real quick, guys, let's look at the Xfinity race here for a bit. So SVG won an absolutely legendary battle and race between him and Kyle Larson. From the start of the race, they just went off.
Yeah, it was a 2-man race for much of the day. I mean, I know strategy and pitting and stuff, pinned both back in traffic a bit, but it was a lot like last year's Cup race where Larson could kind of pick his way through some of the traffic, but nobody could make passes like SVG. Like, he was so good. And like I said earlier, the crowd, every time he made a pass anywhere in the top 5, top 10, the crowd was cheering him on, super excited. It was awesome. It was just, Larson said it best afterwards, like the way he was able to make passes, set people up without making any contact. Like, there's an element of racecraft there that we don't see consistently anymore. I feel like now it's a lot of just mash the gas, go all out, hope for the best. It's like, it's nice to see some finesse. John, you'll appreciate this reference or this analogy, but like in baseball now, I feel like pitching is more about who can spin the ball the most and throw the hardest. There's less finesse, accuracy, dot in the corners, sequencing. And I feel like Shane Van Gisbergen is like the Greg Maddux of road racing in NASCAR these days. So it was artistry. I felt like I was watching artistry. So that was a good time.
That's a perfect reference, by the way.
Thank you.
Because it's very accurate. It's overly accurate, actually.
And like the Cup race, I think we all thought was pretty good generally for all that it went through. This race was awesome. I mean, from start to finish. We saw some negative comments about the Cup race and stuff in the poll, and you see it on social media and stuff. But the Xfinity race, like I didn't see anyone who had any, just neuron firing off that had anything really bad to say about it. You know, like, was there craziness here or there? Yes, I get it. It's a road course in NASCAR, but there were moves that aren't even getting shouted out that I thought were really good. Sam Mayer being right behind SVG when he came off the last corner, spinning into the wall almost, and still managed to stay off him, and they kept racing after that. Not something you're really gonna, you know, have in the highlight reel or talk about in years to come, but a damn awesome move, and a young driver looking like a veteran out there, taking care of another driver at the end of a race who he's competing for, possibly if they are able to move up for a win. I honestly thought the overall racing, even just through the field, was better in the Xfinity race than the Cup race. And I was thoroughly impressed with that. I think that might have been Xfinity wise. I don't think Cup wise or overall, but Xfinity wise, race of the year.
It was one of the best Xfinity races, no doubt. I'd be hard pressed to say for sure if it's the best, but it was. You felt like you were watching. I said this on my show, like, you felt like you were watching greatness. I know it sounds like I'm just absolutely drooling over Shane Van Gisbergen, but compared to the rest of the Xfinity Series field, like, he stood out. And that's something we don't see in NASCAR much these days, is someone's talent truly stand out. We talk instead about parity. Anyone can win. Anyone does win. But every now and then, a clearly dominant athlete is awesome to see. And it is what moves the needle. I mean, that's why people watch women's college basketball, was because of Caitlin Clark moving the needle, standing out, you know. And I feel like Shane Van Gisbergen, especially compared to the Xfinity Series field, does that on road courses. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, he was the most popular driver in that race. He got more cheers than Larson, which I have seen few drivers get as many cheers as Larson over the past year or so. To see this guy, who's not even a full-time, you know, he's an Xfinity guy, I mean, it was kind of wild. I kind of had to do a double take. I got a great view after the race. I was right next to SVG's car, and he was doing burnouts.
You're
and
on
there's
TV?
fans, and I think I did sneak into the background at one point. There's fans in the front stretch grandstands with Australian or New Zealand flags waving. Like, that was, like, he sold tickets, and there's very few people in NASCAR who are selling tickets these days, just on name and alone. So,
and I'll follow that up just with, you know, my end anecdotally too. I do these post race streams, and every time he wins, it's usually the biggest in any given series, Xfinity or Cup, with the street race last year. But even Xfinity, all of his wins are like my 3 of my top 4 most watched ones. Like, just people come in droves for this guy. Whenever I start up a stream after he wins, it's just filled with New Zealand flags and Kiwis all the way up and down. Or even when he punted the footballs all through the chat. I mean, just I saw somebody on Twitter put this, and I could not have thought of any more true way to talk about how he is with fans. You might get annoyed by, like, us talking about him or people talking about him on the broadcast or Twitter, but I think he's one of the few guys too that's crossing that threshold where nobody dislikes the guy. Like, yeah, somebody might like dislike that he wins, or
Austin Hill doesn't like him very much, but other than
but who does Austin Hill?
Well, that's
like?
because of Coda.
Yeah.
Well, Austin Hill doesn't like anybody. Like, he's the exception, I guess. But
I guess that's true.
But if you're looking at people who are just widely loved in NASCAR, like, how many can you actually name? Like, just name like, who the fans like all love that there's no real haters for in NASCAR's fandom.
I mean, like
Justin Haley.
I mean, like, it has to be like a big name. Like Justin Haley, he's not moving the needle. I mean,
Dale Jr.
I guess Dale Jr. nowadays, obviously not a full-time racer.
Maybe at the end of his career, Jeff Gordon. Like, I'm not saying that the SVG's to that level necessarily on the NASCAR fan base, but for an outer fan base, like, he's that guy, like, that's bringing people in across the world. And it's crazy to talk about for an Xfinity regular.
Someone said Corey Heim in the chat.
The big thing is he's an outsider. I'm going to be honest. I have not been able to watch as many Xfinity races this year just because I'm working more Saturdays than I ever have. But I can very easily tell when SVG wins a race because it's all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It doesn't get lost within time as some of these other Xfinity races that have gone on. It's really cool because nowadays when you hear about Cup guys coming up and then you hear their story, they came up completely different than guys in the 90s, the guys in the 80s. So for SVG to come in, that's not from the States, gets in the car, wins in his first start, and where is he right now in points for Xfinity? He should be way up there. 3 wins, definitely leading in the playoff picture, but
leading
the
the
regular
playoffs.
season, yeah. The fact that he is leading in the series as a rookie, it's just mind-blowing to me. And that car is nothing like the supercars that he has raced as well overseas in the Down Under. So he's someone that I think will continue to move the needle. Will it be on the level of Dale Jr.? No. Will it be on the level of Jeff Gordon? No. But it could rival a Kyle Larson, as you just previously mentioned. I think it could rival a Chase Elliott.
I think
Maybe.
it'd be more than a Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott moves the needle with not NASCAR fans, but nobody outside of NASCAR knows who Chase Elliott is. Like, they know who Kyle Larson, SVG, maybe 1 or 2 others. I think that's that. When you're looking outside the fan base, you got to talk to people who aren't NASCAR fans. Like, I think that list is SVG, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, for various different reasons.
Did you see, what was it? Who was it? Kenny Wallace. Did you see his tweet today? He tweeted out that the 3 most popular drivers are, who was it? It was Hailie Deegan, Denny Hamlin, and Bubba Wallace. I think he's right about Bubba. I think you could argue SVG and Larson should be in that top 5. He's not saying popular isn't necessarily like well liked. Obviously, all these people are extremely divisive, but that's the point, is, you know, polarizing people, get clicks, get attention. I'd throw Kyle Busch's name in there. He could probably be in that top 5. Maybe swap him, and
he's a fringe guy that like the outsiders know of.
Yes, a lot of casual sports fans know who Kyle Busch is, at least in my experience.
But Hailie Deegan on the other end, we won't go too much into this, but it was confirmed that she's not coming back to AM Racing, and that car got a top 10, even though the crew chief didn't know how to make an air pressure adjustment. I'm not joking either. Like, if anyone who didn't
I
see
saw that transcript. I'm not smart enough to really be able to like translate it, I guess, but it did sound kind of cringe.
I heard the audio of it was going around Twitter a bit, and it was like the crew chief was like sounded confused by what Joey was saying, and Joey basically had to take him into it. So like, I won't go too far into it, but it's just it looked rough all around with that team, and I think putting a rookie in there who already was not excelling in any way in stock car racing, it was not going to work.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think Deegan deserves a good amount of the blame for sure, but it's just because she's inexperienced. Like, you know, they put her, the crew chief she started the year with is the same crew chief who was there last year with Brett Moffitt, and they had a 10 position better average finish. So like that's not good, but for sure, someone who kind of struggled in trucks needed to be put in a better situation than she was. This was not a great situation. The odds of her succeeding, hindsight especially now, were very slim all along. So I hope we'll see where she lands. I'm sure she'll end up somewhere, at least part-time. We'll see what happens.
There might be a prediction or two about AM Racing and her down the line. We'll get to that, but before we get to that, we got to go on past the Chicago weekend. Big weekend. Had a lot to talk about with it. It's pretty good we got that 1 minute head start. But real quick, if someone wants to time me,
I got you.
Let's go on the first Super Chat stage break. So I'm just going to start it off. You just start timing me. By the way, likewise, we are, I believe, 175 off, give or take.
Yeah, we haven't promoted it yet. We'll talk about it more. Go.
Antar Das for the 10 here. The main reasons why, wow, that's on topic, that why I'm harsh on Deegan was that people were hyping her up to be the next big thing. So I raised my expectations. It doesn't matter if you're on a crap team. If you suck, get out.
Ooh.
I do think that's part of the reason, though, that there's been more a spotlight. And I think that's part that her defenders are in large part just trying to overlook, is there were a lot of expectations on her.
It's a double-edged sword. All the hype is why she got this ride in the first place. And as a result, also means expectations are higher. It's a double-edged sword.
Shorty PGM left 2 of them here, a 522 and a 536. First one says, accidentally missed last week, so here it goes. Jolo, big Logano fan here. Twin Sis and I legit killed our voices screaming. I mean, 110 laps on one fuel cell? And then follows it up. He showed he is the only one super talented enough to do so. So Penske as the first entire team in the playoffs. And then says hashtag Jolo 2024 champ season incoming. It is an even year. Followed up here, I believe, by Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 10. Not an Alex Bowman fan, but at all. But man, he's got such an underrated personality. Wish Hendrick would let him show that more. Timmy Wolf for the 15-month member chat. Let's return to Chicagoland. I miss it, please. Trust me, I'm in the same boat for very selfish reasons.
It would be a great race, no doubt.
It would. Though I did hear there was a car there. Eric W. for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you. And I'm sure there are 10 people that are thankful for that as well. Twin Spinner for the 2. Bowman wins and Danny misses this stream. Yep. That's not the first time that's happened. Mickey Logano for the 20. In my opinion, Bowman is not Hendrick Motorsports material. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good driver and he's belonged in the Cup Series, but he never really is going to be a championship contender like his teammates.
We'll see. We'll see. Let's give him some time. This is not the week to be saying Bowman's lousy. Like the same way Bowman shouldn't be like puffing out his chest too much. Like we also shouldn't be hating on him this week. He did just win.
RG5 Gaming for the 1 month member chat. Hashtag bring back Chicagoland. Garabuki with another 10 here saying, how y'all gents doing today? Xfinity was epic. Cup was a vibe killer. Though I just watched a video of some guy at Disney Park in a Winnie the Pooh costume fall over, so I'm doing all right tonight.
What was that? Did Danny just post that? What was it?
Someone texted. By the way, Eric, every time you put it on screen, I'm on a different screen, so I'm like have 10-second delay. So did I hit the 3 minutes?
You're close. Do a couple more.
All right, I'll do 3 more here. GN NASCAR fan for the 5. As a Jeff Gordon fan, I still remember 2013 Pocono where Kane launched like a bat out of hell into the tunnel turn. That loss still haunts me today. Yeah, I think all of us have that one loss. What's
or 2
that,
or 3.
What's that loss for you guys? That one loss that just irks you?
It's either Phoenix 2016 or Daytona 500 2016.
Daytona 08. Tubby Stewart.
2011 600.
That's an easy one.
Carl Singleton for the 20. Bowman is still a rich man, Steve Park. Steve Park wasn't bad. He just had bad luck. Last one here for this round. Dominion 42 for the 10. I don't think anyone's driver predictions for silly season coming into the year have survived. If anyone had Gragson to front row next year, I want to know what the next lotto numbers are. 4 teams in 4 years. I think it's a good way to end off. We will talk about that in a bit.
I predict, not at the beginning of the season because I didn't know for sure Stewart Haas was fully shutting down. But once Stewart Haas shut down, I did call Gragson to front row, which wasn't exactly the most bold take, but it was something. RCR rumors were real. And
the chat's going off because the ambulance went through.
Wee
woo. But with that, we'll look more into the super chats later in the second super chat stage break. But now, let's hope that we don't freeze Eric's stream with the lightning round. He's getting struck again. What's he doing? Oh, okay. The lightning round. Let's go into it really quick. Not too awful much. First one here, we asked how many overtimes do you want for the Spotify crowd, and they said, well, 5% said 1 overtime, 12% said they want to end at the scheduled distance, 33% said go to 3 overtimes, 50% said stay at unlimited.
Okay.
So,
right.
half said unlimited, a third said 3, and then
so we should have several overtimes, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. This one happened actually while we were live last week, so I want to put it in here. NASCAR The IMAX Experience is now free with ads on YouTube, and I may or may not have been watching that while I edited the Spotify version of this show last week. So it's pretty good. Very dated, but still very good. iRacing did some scans, as Dale Jr. put on his Twitter, of the old DEI engine that he had for, I believe, 3 of his 4 straight Talladega wins for the Gen 4 upgrade. I know that John's probably pretty happy about that side of it.
Oh, thank goodness. I was so worried that we were going to lose all the paint schemes again.
Well, we won't, at least for the event, what we'll talk about in a moment. But the sound will be really damn good from what it seems like. Chase Briscoe will be in the NASCAR Canada race tomorrow night, by the way, for anybody up north who is thinking about going. It might be nearby you. You might need that push to just go to it. Chase Briscoe will be up there. NASCAR also unveiled its new EV concept car in Chicago. No planned series for it at the moment, or for it to be a replacement of a current car, but some interesting dialogue came from that in one way or another. So that's sure to make everybody in the chat and all over the world of NASCAR very, very happy. We talked about it earlier. Hailie Deegan is out at AM Racing. And another shameless promo for the NWP channel that we have that'll have episode replays usually put up on Fridays. This past week had to be pushed back a day just because internet wasn't the greatest on my end this past week. But yes, so if you missed this episode and you might be watching it on there, hi. And then a reminder for next week, we will be on Eric's channel, July 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, going over Pocono and going into the Brickyard weekend. And fitting, going into the Brickyard weekend, we'll have our buddy David Land on. So
Yeah,
he should be a lot of fun. Maybe we can get like 1 noon out of him. Like if we maybe one of us will have a prediction that David Land will say noon at least once during that show, because I feel like the chances would be very high. But that is the lightning round this week. Really quick, because we do have a little silly season stuff to talk about. But before that, we do want to talk about what we kind of, I don't know if breaking it is the right way to go about it, but the little news on the 3 of our ends that we have for tonight and going into August. John, we are NWP as a show coming back for a 4th year of the NWP 400, 4th annual.
It's insane how we've done this now. We're getting ready to do it for 4 straight seasons. NWP 400, August 20th. There's already a lot of demand. The signup's already out on my X account. Was going to say Twitter, but you know, whatever you want to call it. There's already a lot of demand, as expected. We're going to have a shootout. We're going to have duels with the last chance qualifier. The last time we did it, it was really cool. And with the Gen 4, it's going to be, I think, even cooler than last year, just because we have a custom setup that produces 205, 206. I think under the lights, we clocked in max 208.
John, we got to, I believe, into, not under the lights, because it at the moment it's planned to be a day and a night. We actually got up to 210 heading into 3.
We have some serious speed. We fixed the issue at the Gen 4 where you can still bump. Well, before the Gen 4, you couldn't bump at all, but now you can bump enough to not just lift the tires off the ground and spin someone. There is that fine line, which was shown in the teaser trailer. So if you want to race in the NWP 400, or at least have a shot at it, signups are now on the IDK Player Twitter. And then come August 20th, we're going to see who will win under the lights for the 4th consecutive season.
By the way, I pinned in the chat that the sign-up form is right there. So for anyone interested who wants to come in, check it out. But really quick, I want to read through the format we have for it, because like John said, we have a shootout, we have duels. We will have, John, correct me if I'm wrong, 105 possible entries.
That's what it's looking like. It's going to be around 105, 110, because we'll have the duels. That'll be about 62 drivers. Add in
the 43 for the shootout.
43. So it will be 105. 105 guys have a shot at winning. But the shootout's going to be interesting because the top 4 from the shootout advance to the duels, and then the duels will set the field for August 20th.
And so really quick, we'll go through it. So the shootout at the moment is going to be 43 cars, 70 laps, night race on that one. August 12th, it's a Monday night on all this on John's channel. The fast 4 would advance to the duels on that one. So top 4 of 43 get a chance to be in the duels. That's just to let as many enter as possible. Thursday night, August 15th is our duel night. We'll have qualifying, top 4 in single car quals who get on up there. They're good for the night. They make the top 4 for the main event. 2 50-lap duels with 31 cars. Top 19 will advance. to the main event, and then the LCQ with the remaining 24 cars. 20 laps, winner advances, nobody else does. And then 160 laps on Tuesday night, August 20th, the NWP 400. It should be a lot of fun. We got the signups in there now. Everything you need to know if you're interested will be in on those signups. But I don't know about you guys. I can't wait. It should be a lot of fun.
I want to point out we already have 50 signups, and we just put the whole sign-up sheet out maybe an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
only on
nice.
Twitter. It hasn't been on Instagram. It hasn't been on the community page. It hasn't even been announced until now. So there's going to be a lot of demand. If you want to race, I would sign up now because the demand is already pretty up there.
Yeah. So we'll be updating you guys more over, I believe it's the next 6-7 weeks, give or take. We'll update you guys more and more on that, and on this show we'll probably once the date gets closer, we'll let you know when the cutoff is, if you're like a last minute kind of need to know on that one. But cannot wait for that. Should be a ton of fun. And now we move from the virtual side back to the silly season side. And I believe with that, let's kind of go into, I guess, a mix of silly season talk and also headlines for this week, guys. Two big news stories on the silly season side. Let's start with the one that happened a little further away here. Rodney Childers, former crew chief of Kevin Harvick, current of Josh Berry, future crew chief for Corey LaJoie at Spire.
That's so weird.
Yeah, okay, so I know John's thoughts on that one immediately.
I wish he would have stayed with Ford. I mean, when Stewart was starting to fall off, I definitely went more towards Harvick and Edwards, because growing up for me, my big three drivers were that Harvick, Edwards, and Tony. But it's just one of those combos that you're used to seeing. It was Rodney with Kevin, just like Johnson had Canals. With him going to a Chevy team, I don't know. It's just really, really weird. Yes, at one point there was Chevy. But with him not going with Barry to Wood Brothers, I feel like that would have been just a perfect move over into the Penske line. And if Barry showed true talent to possibly move into one of the big three rides, Rodney definitely would have gone with him. I feel like they're really breaking up a possible good duo here.
Yeah, the Wood Brothers, well, really, it's Penske making the decision. They have a deep bench of crew chiefs that they were likely going to pick from. I know last week, Barry said, hey, we're going to interview Childers. We're going to interview Rodney Childers. But it sounded like Rodney said, hey, I don't have weeks or months to sit and, do those interviews, talk to whoever. Like, Spire's probably offering him a bag. They've paid very well a lot of other people that have joined their team in recent years. I don't blame him for taking the opportunity. From a competitive standpoint, I would have loved to see Childers either with Barry at the Wood Brothers or at front row, either with a Gragson or a Todd Gilliland or whoever else they might put in one of those seats. I would love to have seen Rodney help this newly competitive Ford team get up off the ground. I think that would have been best. But he's going to Spire, which is another up-and-coming team that's invested a ton of money. It's the pairing him up with Corey LaJoie that's a little confusing. I was joking, sort of semi-joking with somebody the other day is, how many more best opportunities is Corey LaJoie going to get? He's been the perpetual underdog, but when Gainbridge, now let's actually back up a little bit. He gets that call from Hendrick to sub for Chase Elliott. And it's like, this is the best opportunity he's ever had. I know it was Gateway, not a good track for them. A lot of information he had to process in a short period of time. It wasn't perfect, but he kind of blew it. Then Gainbridge invests in the team this year. Spire, going to have more money, more resources than ever. He's kind of blowing it. He's 31st in points while his rookie teammate is like 24th. So now he gets Rodney Childers. This is the best opportunity he's ever had. Let's hope he doesn't freaking blow it, because if he does, he's out of a ride. That's the thing. LaJoie, I like him a lot. Great personality, good dude, decent driver. We're going to find out next year if he's actually good. If he does not step up significantly, I'm talking at least top 25 in points, if not better, he's gone. I think they'll fire him after next year or won't renew his contract or pick up the option, whatever the case may be. I think now the pressure is officially on LaJoie.
Well, and this isn't uncharted waters for Rodney Childers. This is the guy who brought a pretty washed up Brian Vickers in Cup to victory lane at New Hampshire. Yep. This is a crew chief who brought Scott Riggs to a top 20 points finish and should have won a Coke 600 with him in 2006. I get that Evernham was pretty damn good back then, but this is Scott Riggs we're talking about. He has never been a top 20 NASCAR Cup Series driver except with Rodney Childers. So, and if I'm not mistaken, he was at NWR. Did he win with Rudiman? Or who was the crew chief at that point? I don't remember.
He was with Mark Martin, right?
He was at Mark Martin.
I think he was with Mark.
Did he get
I don't think he was with
Rudiman
at all.
Well,
I think he might have done a year with Rudiman.
Because the 55 team,
I think he did do a year on the 00. When did Mark?
Mark went over there in 2012. So
I think the year before that he was with Rudiman, 2011, right?
No, they're saying he did win with Rudiman. So if that was 2009 and 2010, because I was
2010 Chicagoland, really?
Yeah.
That probably explained why he did so well.
He beat Jeff Gordon straight up, beat Carl Edwards straight up. That's the thing. I was in the infield and never saw the crew chiefs. So, I mean, he's won with guys like Scott Riggs, David Rudiman, Brian Vickers. Like, damn, come on, Corey.
50
almost with
Mark
Scott
Martin.
Riggs. Almost with Scott Riggs. Freudian slip.
That's pretty crazy, actually.
The argument you make here, though, is the cars aren't what they were 10, 12, 15 years ago, where a crew chief and a team had more say and hands-on development to make the cars go faster. That's my big take here. Because when Rodney was with Harvick, they were absolutely destroying the field with the Gen 6. But when the next gen came in, Harvick's pace dropped off. And then you can make the argument it's because the next gen's more of a catalog car where you pick it up from the Sears catalog and go buy the parts, or is it because of what it was before? I don't think he's going to wow the world like it was in 2010, like it was in 2015, 2016. He will definitely give Corey some type of boost, but then it comes down to the driver. Can the driver bring the talent to the table?
Well, and the other problem with the driver too is every time Corey LaJoie's up front, it seems like he just seizes up a bit and makes a screw up. Like every time this year he's been up front, he either drifts up into somebody or he loses it, or there's something he always does, and it's like, dude, you are a Cup Series driver. Is this how you race in the back? Like, if you're up front with these guys, which you probably will be, I still think he'll be a lot better next year than he will this year, at least speed wise. Like, is this how you're going to race every time? Because if he's 18 of the 36 races racing top 10 and makes a screw up in that point, like, what are we doing at that? Like,
I got to see dramatic improvement.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a little surprised they paired him with LaJoie instead of Hocevar, who I think has a higher ceiling, or McDowell, who's the KG vet who could legitimately surprise people in the playoffs next year. Like, LaJoie is like the weird middle child. It's weird to say because he was their anchor driver when they kind of began this journey towards being more competitive, but I just don't know. I almost wonder if Rodney should have been brought in as like the competition director to kind of oversee everything and help everyone a little bit instead of pinning him with LaJoie. I guess Hocevar and McDowell will get something out of that still, but like, I don't know. I guess credit to them. They still believe Corey can be the guy, and maybe he can be. I don't want to say he's not, but we just haven't seen enough the last couple of years. I'm worried. I worry this could be a waste.
I don't see it with LaJoie. Like, I see him being like a solid top 25 driver. I think this year is severely under what he should be, but the lineup next year would be McDowell, LaJoie, and Hocevar. Hocevar and McDowell with Rodney Childers, I could easily see being playoff guys. I mean, Hocevar this year has run top 5 off speed. I don't think you break that up. But the 71 team has not been anything really special. But Michael McDowell going over there, somebody who's been top 20 with front row with multiple different crew chiefs with Rodney Childers, like, I don't see why he couldn't be a top 15 points guy as long as the team gets it together. I feel like you'd want to put probably your best crew chief, that's who Rodney Childers is, with your best driver. And I just don't think Corey LaJoie is their best driver. That's not me saying he's bad, but he's not their best driver. That's why it's a weird pairing to me. I'd argue he's their third driver.
Yeah, you could argue it. I think they're close. I think all three are pretty equal, to be quite honest, but I think Hocevar is going to get better, and I don't know that LaJoie is going to get a whole lot better at this point.
Yeah, it feels like to me he's kind of burned his opportunities, and this is just the team staying behind him because of what he's done for them. I mean, he let's be honest, he did overachieve with this team for a bit, or maybe he just did what the team at that point with the development they had could do. But I didn't realize
Luke. I
didn't do that, by the way.
Okay, I was gonna wonder.
Luke Lamb, our crew chief this year. He's a vet. He's good. He's solid. I don't know if he's great. He's been around a while. Dude, I lagged out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
but,
you're full ventriloquist right now. Your lips aren't moving, but you're talking.
Well, Luke Lambert is host of our crew chief. I didn't realize that because he is, he's a veteran. He's solid.
But I'll say this. I think Ford fumbled the bag again. I mean, they lost another solid talent, and Spire's got that money, man. They got that Gamebridge money. But on the other side with Ford, we have the big news of the day. Noah Gragson has signed with Front Row. We don't know what team yet or sponsors any of that. But what do we think? Noah Gragson going over to the old Front Row team.
Interesting. That's the only word I could really use. I'm not optimistic. I'm going to be honest. What has Gragson done this year? That's the question that needs to be asked. What has he done this year with SHR that he could possibly throttle up next year with Front Row? Because I think SHR is not obviously on the level Front Row. Oh, actually, are they about even? Would you say they're about even? Maybe Front Row's a little bit better?
They're even, but they're going different directions.
Right. So I'm not going to say Noah Gragson is going to go out there and win 3 or 4 races. If he gets one win, I think it's on a super speedway, like Front Row has done in times, unless McDowell gets a win on a road course. But I'd say he may be a playoff contender, but if he makes it, like just sneaks into number 16, he's the first round exit. I don't expect too much out of Gragson, honestly.
Noah Gragson this year has the same amount of top 10s as Michael McDowell, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, and Joey Logano.
Wallace is a playoff contender right now. Joey Logano just got a win. Briscoe, same team. McDowell on the way out, and Kyle Busch. Who knows what Kyle Busch is doing right now?
Noah's had flashes. My bigger concern is the whole team is going to be so young next year. They just got this Penske alliance. They're just now becoming a tier 1 Ford team, and their oldest driver might be 25 years or 26 years old. Like that's, and it would be Noah Gragson could be their oldest driver next year, especially if some of these Sam Mayer rumors are correct. So you're going to get a guy with virtually no cup experience, Todd Gilliland, who has been a very positive story this year, but still hasn't won anything. Todd has one NASCAR win his whole career, right? It was like one truck win at Martinsville. I think that's it. Does he have 2 wins? I think he has 1 truck win at Martinsville.
I remember that one because he called Kyle Busch out in the interview.
That's right. Yeah, that was the same
Todd
night
Gilliland,
as Danny's wedding.
I'm trashing Todd Gilliland here, and I don't mean to because he's had a fantastic year, but his one highlight was trashing Kyle Busch after a truck win like 6 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever it was. So he has 3 truck wins? Someone said 2. No, okay, he has 2. Oh, he won at Knoxville. That's what Peter's saying. I did kind of forget about that. But when he was coming up through the ranks, he won that race at Martinsville, called out Kyle Busch, and that was the highlight for the longest time. This year, Todd has, I think, 7 straight finishes of 17th or better. I want to say that's the number. He's been incredible the last 2 months.
Yeah,
he's up
like
to 19th in points.
Since
that gives me hope. But overall, my concern with Front Row is that they're going to be so young and losing out on Childers. It sounds like McDowell's crew chief is likely to go with him to Spire. Like, who else do they have there? What sort of, on the competition side, what kind of veteran leadership do they truly have? That's my only concern.
To be fair, I mean, when Blake Harris left, we had the same talking points kind of about McDowell of like, somebody really good left. Like, who's going to step up at that point?
And to be fair, McDowell, he did win Indy last year, but outside of that one race, overall, he's been worse since Blake Harris left.
Yeah, but I would also argue that I think Blake Harris is just that good.
Yeah,
I mean, he's consistent this year with Bowman. Yeah. But I still think this is a team that is really on the rise, and that added tier 1 with Ford. Like we knew it wasn't going to come in right away, but I think by the end of next year, like that's really, really going to show that alliance with Penske, that OEM support that a lot of these teams either don't get or like Stuart Haas, we're starting to lose. Like you're not going to see that. And I think so. I would expect growing pain, especially with the third team. It's something that they haven't been able to do very long term. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, like that team is running at least 2 of them in the top 10 almost every race during like the playoffs, whether they make it or not.
That'd be interesting. I don't know what to expect from Gragson next year. I think he'll run about like he's run this year. That's my early prediction. I think he'll be 20th to 25th most weeks, and we'll see.
Now, like you said, the rumors right now for that third one, I've seen Sam Mayer, Cole Custer has been rumored, but I know he's linked with Haas. So
I imagine he'll stay with Haas unless someone with a huge sponsor shows up. I don't know, and they can't say no. I have no idea.
Would Ryan Preece be the one that we got to plug somebody in, or do you go with the young guy with Sam Mayer?
Yeah, and no one's talking about Preece, and I still think Ryan Preece is better than the results show, but is he that much better? I don't know.
Reese has what, 2 wins on the Big 3 series, both at Nashville?
He's got 2 Nashville. No, he's got some Xfinity wins too with Gibbs. He won at Iowa, and didn't he win one other race?
I'd be honest, I can't remember. Like it's sort of been just hit
like
or
been
miss.
that long.
I'll look him up. Yeah, it's been 5. Well, his truck wins are more recent, but it's been 4, 5, 6 years since he won Xfinity. Sorry.
I would love to see him go down to Xfinity in the 00, honestly, because I think he would be a championship contender.
He won at Iowa in 17 and Bristol in 18, both for Gibbs.
Yeah, kind of see maybe him and Cole Custer almost switch spaces.
There's no way Custer does not go up, including with the Haas backing. We all know the little debacle that happened within the last year or two between Stewart and Gene. It would make more sense for those two to flip, honestly. Custer is already now proven to be an Xfinity champion. So the resume says, okay, bring him up. And then put Preece down there to see if Preece can win a championship in the 00. And right now, Custer's on pace to possibly be a true championship contender again this year. So I think the 00 will move up to the Cup Series with Custer in 25. I would not be shocked if that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just interested where we go from here. I mean, there's only so many more rides left to fill. Like who gets what, and like you got Harrison Burton. Does he go to Xfinity? Does he somehow sign with the Cup team? What's JTG do? Like, there's still a lot to go, and there's like a lot. The good spots are getting taken up, and the good drivers are getting signed up. Like that's where we're at. I don't think this is going to be one of those silly seasons that lasts into October the way the last 2 or 3 have. Like this is one that seems to like the big domino fell with Stewart Haas, and we've just been rapid firing these every week. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the Olympic break, like we know the front row drivers and probably any other real big holes are filled Cup wise, and we're talking Xfinity.
Yeah, some of the like sort of veiled comments today makes it sound like front row already kind of has that third guy in mind. It's just not signed or not ready to be announced. So
I mean, I don't remember the exact comment, but it seemed like Noah was talking about somebody that he really like it sounds like they have it ready. It's just more announcing it, because they talked about having the stuff with Noah done for a little bit now, and Noah had talked about it last week. So I'm at this point, I mean, I'm just interested to see where the dominoes fall to end it off. But from there, guys, we do have one more big segment for the predictions before the predictions for Pocono. For the Pocono segment, we do have our prediction segment, and about 100 likes to go for random driver. It's looking like more of a long shot, but we've seen the chat pull it out before.
This could be the week we miss it, unfortunately. It's okay. Danny's not here, and he's been dynamite, so it'd probably be a tough segment tonight.
You're tied with him now, though.
That's true. I pulled that. I pulled one out last week. I was proud of myself.
Hey, Cubs won. Cool. Thanks for letting me know that, Matt. It's a rare occurrence nowadays. But as for the prediction segment here, we'll hide this for a moment. Just a reminder, each host or guest can make up to 3 NASCAR, motorsports, or show-related predictions. We'll keep track each week, for better or worse, of our right and wrong predictions, and keep them concise, 2 to 3 years, give or take. Just because it might seem wrong in the moment, if it's time-wise, we will wait it out, even if it's the end of the year, 25, 26. There's a couple, for me and Eric both, that look like they're going to be wrong, but we can't prove them just yet, so they're still on the board.
I know one I had this week was that they're going to announce the Chicago race by the end of this week, but that was because I thought the whole schedule was going to come out this week, and now that sounds unlikely.
Yeah, I think you might have heard the same rumor I did, that it was supposed to come out Tuesday. I know that's a rumor.
I just heard this week, and that was 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now they're saying not this week.
I wouldn't be surprised they're changing the schedule every day, just moving dates around.
Yeah,
That's how it was last year. As for our accountability segment here, let's see what we got all right and wrong. For me, if it'll pop up, it was a iffy week. I had 2 right, 2 wrong. On the right side, I said that the Chicago Street Race ratings would be down from 2023. Unfortunately, they were. I also said SVG would win at least one more NASCAR race of 2024. That was my layup that I will never go that easy with again. On the wrong side, 2024 Chicago Street Race weekend would not have another weather delay. No weather delays this weekend was my prediction all the way back in January. Yeah, that was actually one of my first predictions of the year. I also said that Caleb Williams would be in attendance for the Chicago Street Race. So, he's starting.
I never saw him.
He's starting early on disappointing Chicago. Eric, it was a rough week. It was rough.
This was tough.
You said Chase Elliott would keep his top 20 streak going through Daytona.
He got junked by Daniel Suarez and still finished 21st. That's brutal. Brutal.
So close. You said the Chicago Street Race would be the most watched NASCAR race of 2024, even over Daytona.
It would have been close if not for the rain, but it wasn't going to get there. No, I was a little overzealous on that one.
You also said SVG would finish top 5 in both Chicago races.
Oh my goodness.
He was not. Unfortunately, he would have probably, but
he definitely was a top 3 performer in both races.
Yeah. And Danny missed, and he had like the best week of all of us. He said our internet would stay strong last week. It did. He said SVG would be involved in some shape or fashion in a wreck of some kind during the Cup race. He was. He was only wrong by saying Alex Bowman would go winless this year.
What a hater.
It bit him in the ass.
He is such a hater. That's funny.
I freaking love it, man. It bit him in the ass, but I love it. So as for our standings, I have retaken the lead at 36.58% correct on the year. Eric, you're at 35.29, so still really close battle here. And old hater Danny at 28.89% on the year. All right. That means, well, we have guests. So, John, you'll start us off. What is your first prediction?
I've been looking at this lineup for the truck side for quite some time right now. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, we're gonna go with who sucks first. Is that the goal right now?
No, dude. It's our prediction segment, dude. We're not doing.
Okay.
We're not predicting the races. You can predict anything.
Oh. Ooh,
anything.
Sorry, I was so locked in to go 3 for 3 this weekend. That was the overall goal. Overall prediction.
It can be motorsports.
You know what?
It can be anything.
I predict the Homestead move to May is not for the championship in 26. There's too much talk about it. Way too early for them to make it work. You have to go through so much in the city of Miami and in the city of Homestead to make things work. I don't think it's going to happen in 26, 27, 28, maybe 29. I don't know how I feel about the move to May personally, but I don't think it's for a championship. Maybe I'm just not optimistic because I've seen the track change a lot since my first time there in 09. I think NASCAR is still going to sit with their baby of Phoenix long term.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Say, man.
I hope I'm wrong.
On my end here, Eric, a couple weeks ago, you predicted there'd be 6 road courses on the 2025 schedule. I'm going to predict there will be 5 or less road courses on the Cup schedule for this year.
Why the hell did I say 6? Hold on a minute.
So you had said, I believe it was, so look, obviously there's the 2 that lasted forever. You said the Roval would stick around, Mexico, Coda, I think Chicago.
Okay, yeah, I could still see that.
I see either something with the Mexico race falling through, or then them
Montreal
moving the
will
Roval.
work. No, I don't know.
Or them moving off the Roval.
Someone in the chat said fans hate road courses. Did you see the ratings for Chicago? They only hate road courses in the middle of from nowhere.
I think we've accepted at this point that Chicago is the outlier in general.
Just saying.
But
Mexico City would do numbers.
I think 5 or less at the moment.
Fair enough. This goes back to what I was ranting about earlier, and I don't think anyone's predicted this already. Please tell me if I'm wrong, Jarrett, but I think Shane Van Gisbergen wins Xfinity Most Popular Driver.
No one has predicted that, but I like that prediction.
Especially with Deegan out of a ride.
Yeah. That I honestly think even if she were still in it,
He might win it, yeah.
he probably could have. I do have Danny's prediction, so I can read each one of his that come up.
Okay.
I just had to find the document with them. Here we go. The first one, Alex Bowman will make it into at least the round of 12 in the playoffs.
No.
He could. I mean, that's
No.
Yeah, I think it's
No.
50-50. I think it's about 50-50.
You think he's going to get eliminated around one?
We've been defending Bowman a lot. I just don't see him getting past the first round.
Okay, so
Jon
wait.
said enough is enough.
Okay, who else?
That's enough defending.
Austin Cindric will. Daniel Suarez.
That first round has a road course and a super speedway. Dude, anything, freaking if Justin Haley wins,
Yeah, and he
tomorrow,
could
can
wreck.
make it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
I
could
still
Kyle
don't think he
Larson.
can do it.
Yeah, I think Bowman has as good a shot to make it to the round of 12.
But what are the
as,
stage points looking like from this year?
He's got very few. I don't
Fair
think
enough.
Bowman has any.
That's
stage
that's
wins.
where I kind of lie on. I understand there's the whole possibility of this. Ooh, you know, you could win a road course or a super speedway, but yeah, he got to win. But he hasn't been finding
Ooh.
the finish line first with the green and white checkered flag. So
Look at this stat that I have no way of confirming if it's correct or not. Farkle says every time he's made the playoffs, Bowman has gotten to the round of 12. Danny knows his history. Okay.
Well, he's a Bowman fan. He should know how Bowman is. He'll lose all hope after the checkered flag falls at Bristol and then say how he's a hack again.
Yeah.
I know Danny's watching. Love you, buddy. But it's always fun. John, you get to lead us off into the second round. What are we looking at?
prediction wise,
Yes.
we're thinking the the thing is I'm trying to up what I did last time, but I don't think so. I think the reason why we have a 670 horsepower instead of 950 is because when NASCAR unveils the hybrid, they're going to up the horsepower technically with the hybrid component. So NASCAR fans, when they say, ew, we're going to hybrid or electric, they can do the whoa, hold on, we got more horsepower. And I honestly now believe that more than ever because of the impact technically being 1,300 horsepower.
Do you have for the hybrid engine, do you have it'll be X amount of horsepower at least or higher?
I would say I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 250, something like that.
No, but
give
I
or
mean
take.
total.
Oh, I think it would be over at least 750 for sure, but I wouldn't be shocked if it aims for 950. I guarantee you that is going to be one of the big selling points when they bring hybrid one day. It could be 4 years from now, it could be 5 years from now, but it's going to be you've been asking for the upgrade in horsepower. Here's the upgrade, and we have hybrid to go with it.
We wanted it.
Which is pretty smart.
We
Let's
wanted
be
it, but
honest.
not like that. A never dull phrase from NASCAR fans. Let's see. Looking at my second prediction here, I think Todd Gilliland will score at least one top 5 in 2024. He is currently one of the very few drivers actually in that kind of top 20-ish ring. He's actually the only one who has not scored a top 5 this year. I think he will. I think he'll get one by the end of the year. Off the record, I don't even think it'll be a super speedway. I think it'll just be off speed somewhere. I mean, that team's just getting better.
You're 7th at Chicago. Well, you went with the Todd Gilliland one. So actually, I had a Todd Gilliland prediction, Jarrett. So I'll go ahead and do that one next. I think Todd Gilliland will have a 19th or better average finish by the end of the year. Right now, he's at 18.9. So basically, I think he will have a 18.9 or better average finish from here on out, which would be a career high. His previous career best was like 22 point something.
All right, we got one here from Danny. His second prediction: Haley Deegan will not run another Xfinity race in 2024.
Oh, that's a bold one. That's big. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people now very mad at Danny for stating something that is probably true.
I don't know. I think there's a better chance she gets a ride at some point this year.
I mean, maybe like a one-off towards the end, but I just
yeah. That's all.
Maybe back to trucks.
I think it'd be. I don't know at this point, man. Like, I really don't know because we can look at the Xfinity one in a vacuum, but I mean the truck stats and the lack of wins in ARCA, it piles up over the last 5 years. All right, who's up last? I think we're in the last round, so John, you'll be up at that one.
I think or as a prediction, I know SHR will get one more win before they call it quits in 2024. And I think it's going to be with Ryan Preece. I believe it's going to be with that 41. I'm optimistic. Let me be optimistic. I was a fan of this team for a while. This is where I throw stats away and just say, "Ooh, I hope it's raining at I hope it's not raining at Talladega this year. I might be going, but I hope that there's a big enough wreck at Talladega that Ryan Preece can sneak on through for a win."
That'd be nuts.
Let's see.
It got very quiet.
I'm just trying to figure out what my last prediction is because I have a bunch on here, but I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on. I think I will. This will be a long-term one. We'll probably have this one for the start of next season. I think of the 3 podcast NFL teams that we root for: Texans, Titans, and Vikings. Which, funny enough, when you're choosing a team on Madden, are the last 3 teams you can choose from. That it's weird, I know, but just came in my head. I think the finishing order will be Texans, Vikings, Titans, even if it's a tiebreaker between the Vikings and the Titans. Off the record, I only think one of them is making the playoffs. I'll just put that there. I think the Vikings and the Titans are setting up for the long term. I think Houston is in the here and now. And for Daniil's sake, I hope you go far. For Stefan's sake, I hope he's on the sideline with a knee injury or something, because I don't want that son of a gun to actually have success, because he's just a cancer.
Well, before that cancer spreads, we got to go get ourselves a Super Bowl.
go. Yeah, I mean, maybe have it metastasize in the off season after you win one or something.
That's so silly. My final prediction has something to do with our next segment. But you will see, chat, that I have gained ground in our pick points significantly. Objects in mirror may be closer than they appear. So, chat, my prediction is that by the start of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, I will be within 5 points of your point lead.
Ooh.
Mark it down.
By the way, we are over 500 likes. We're in that end game, so maybe they can get it by the time we get through that next side of it. Final one from Danny is that Josh Berry will get AM Racing their second consecutive top 10 finish in the Xfinity race this weekend at Pocono.
Okay, all right.
I think that Josh Berry would be a much better litmus test than Joey Logano. Two-time
an oval.
Cup, yeah,
as well.
Well, 2-time Cup champion too, and so compared to Berry being I think Berry's last year in Xfinity was good, but it was not setting the world on fire. I think that how Berry does will probably show how that team should have been running, and if it's back where Deegan was, then there you go. If it's on the top 10, yikes. But that is our prediction segment. And now we just got what's left is Pocono, and maybe the chat can get there by the end. How many likes are we at right now?
We're about 50 away.
Ooh,
no pressure, chat.
We're actually
we're down.
43
we're 40
away.
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to get it by the end of this. Let's look into the weekend notes for the Pocono Triple weekend. William Byron will be in the 17 car for the Xfinity race, so that's one to watch for. Sage Karam will be racing for Carl Long in trucks, and it's going to be a full 36 truck field this week. So both Xfinity and trucks will have full fields this weekend. Looking at the weekend ahead, Cup race-wise, the Great American Getaway 400 this Sunday, 160 laps, 30, 65, 65 are the stages, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on USA and the NBC Sports app, as well as MRN covering it. Weather at the moment looking pretty good, 84, mostly sunny, 24% chance of rain, though that can change. Denny Hamlin is your defending winner. The Xfinity race is the Explore the Pocono Mountains 225. 90 laps, 20/20/50 is the stage lengths. 3 p.m. Eastern Time start time on that one. USA, NBC Sports app, as well as MRN again. 82 degrees, scattered thunderstorms throughout the afternoon, 49% chance of rain. Austin Hill is your defending winner of that race. And then you got Friday night, the truck race. The CRC Brackleen 175, say that 3 times fast, 70 laps total for 15, 15, and 40 as the stages. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, start time, FS1 and MRN will cover that one for you. 78 degrees and thunderstorms, 68% chance of those thunderstorms. though I believe as it gets closer to dark, they go down, but that's probably not going to help the race itself. Defending winner of this race, Kyle Busch. We haven't been able to say much of that this year. Kyle Busch, defending winner of anything. Just twisting the knife a little bit more. As for the pick points, chat, you are still leading, but it's not me that you're leading over anymore, even though I think only lost 1 point on the weekend. It's Eric, who's now only 21 points behind. I'm 24 back, and Danny back in the basement, 25 back. But I will note, last year at this time, the four of us were, I think, separated by like 75 points, so very close. Any of us could have the points lead after this weekend. Let's roll into those picks, starting with the truck race. John, you will lead us off. Who do you think is winning in trucks this weekend?
I have been studying on my laptop over here, so I go 3 for 3. Give me Ross Chastain in the 45. He won earlier in the year with Darlington. I don't know what's going on. Eric's going nuts over there, shaking his head. I was looking up and down. I like the idea of Spire going back to back, but I don't think Connor Mozak's going to wow the world this weekend. I wanted to go Nick Sanchez, but maybe because there's a little bit of a South Florida biasness. But I think Ross is the boss this weekend.
I like that. Ross is the boss. Danny gave me his picks. For trucks, he is going Heim time. Corey Heim is going to get the win on his end. And I'm going to go with my second pick, Christian Eckes.
Beans on toast. All right, and I'll go with my fourth pick, Raja Karuth.
I think it's a good pick.
I like Spire's equipment. That's all that really comes. I mean, Raja's fine, but he hasn't won in a while. I just like their trucks.
And the chat is stunned, bamboozled.
The chat is in shambles right now.
And they're on
Majeski.
And on top of that, they're only 30 likes away from the like goal too, so they could actually hit it by the end of the segment.
They got Ty Majeski over here.
Yeah, they're going full 98 on this one. Not a bad pick either. So that'll be. I think that this is another one kind of like the Xfinity race this past weekend that actually is really, really interesting for how many contenders there really could be. John, Xfinity race, who's winning that one?
Feeling bold, but I also want to be a little bit more safe. So I'm going to go Cole Custer in the 00. Like what Custer's doing this year. Love the consistency. I kind of dabbled a little bit between him, Love, and probably Allgaier, but I think Cole Custer's going to get it done.
Danny is going bold on this one, especially after this guy's production or lack thereof in this car. William Byron in the 17 is his pick. And I am going to go with somebody who has been quietly fast at this track, very fast at that. I think it's his time to break out at Pocono, Sam Mayer. Yep, I saw Eric's face. I knew I was going to do that.
So I got to pick between the two RCR guys. I am feeling it's so much easier to root for Jesse Love. So I'll go Jesse.
The Love Boat.
Dude, as a Vikings fan, don't say that. There's a way different meaning to that. Have I told you that story?
No, save it for later.
I'll save it for after the show, but it's an interesting story. Looking at the chat, I'm seeing a few 20s and a few 7s. Should we run a poll? The 20s are starting to outweigh the 7s.
Then there's some 7s. Maybe it is a poll. I don't know. It might be poll worthy.
Yeah, I think it is. So we'll just do poll. Where's that? Yeah, there it is. Poll, and it's what, 7 and 20. Alrighty, and the poll's going up now as we are 23 likes away from the like goal. By the way,
big.
So while we're doing that, John, lead us off. Who's going to suck this weekend in Cup?
I'm going to go Martin Truex Jr., which is interesting because he started second last year and finished third. But I just don't have a lot of optimism right now for Truex. I feel like he's kind of in that farewell tour. Wouldn't be surprised if he got a win this year. I love Truex. Got to see him win a championship in 2017, but I just don't see him performing this week at Pocono.
I am in the boat of Ryan Blaney being the one I think is going to suck this weekend. He has a lot. It just sometimes just bad luck here. Sometimes just not the greatest runs. And I think that Blaney is going to be that guy who's just not up to snuff.
I'll go with his teammate Joey Logano. I don't love the Fords at this track. They haven't shown me enough consistently at the big fast tracks for me to pick them.
This was the race too, Pocono, where Joey had his little meltdown at the crew that was trying to tow him and take him out of turn 1.
That's right.
The chat, let's see what they're looking at. Let's see. I've seen a bunch. Wait, who's in the 44? Am I like just missing something here?
Is NY Racing in the field? I think they might be with like
That's
Yaley.
a cop out. Come on, guys, you're better than that. Like no shit, they're gonna suck. Like what the 66 car gonna be fast or something too? Like come on. I saw some Austin Dillons. That's about the best you're gonna get without being a complete cop out. He's not gonna be good. I'm seeing a few NR guys in there too, John.
Yeah, I've seen them in there. I've been smiling at some of the stuff they've been saying.
Yeah. By the way, we're 10 likes away. 7 is winning the poll. So Justin Allgaier is their pick for Xfinity win. And then we got the dark horse for Cup, John. Who's going to be the dark horse this weekend?
I don't know if I want to use this guy as a dark horse or for a win, just because I love what he's done, at least the last little bit. Kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Let's go Bubba Wallace. He finished, 11th last year, started 10th at Pocono. He's fresh off of 50,000 in the barrel. I think he's out for vengeance. He's driving a Toyota. It's hard to bet against a Toyota. The Fords aren't going to be as strong here as they definitely have been in years past. So give me Bubba.
I'm going to stick with somebody who's been a relatively hot hand. I think he can get a top 10 this weekend. Todd Gilliland. I think they managed to always find their way up there. Top 15 runs, top 17 as it's been since, I believe, April. So I think he'll be up there.
I'll go Ty Gibbs. This is his 3rd trip to Pocono, and he's run well, I think, in his first 2 trips.
Let's see. I misspoke. We are 13 likes away, by the way, from the like goal. What's the chat looking like?
Justin Haley?
Let's go with it. Haley, yes. Justin Haley. I will write that down. And we hit the like goal, by the way.
Ooh, wow. At the 11th hour.
Yeah. Literally. We're getting there. So with that, John, who is going to win this weekend?
I'm going to love to see the chat on this, but this is not a joke. I just want to point that out. It's not a joke. I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs. It's hard to bet against Denny Hamlin, and it's also hard to bet against Reddick since they finished 1-2 last year, but Gibbs led 4 laps last year when he was a rookie. He finished 5th after starting 11th, his first Cup race in 22 after the unfortunate incident with the 45. He didn't do too badly. I think Pocono is going to be one of his tracks. So if he's going to get a win this year, it may come here. So give me Ty Gibbs in the 54.
That's
I like it.
Bad. And so this is how you can tell I've not been cheating too much. I did not look until just now at Danny's. Danny's going with Denny.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably, that's definitely number 1.
It's such a safe pick, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with somebody who I think had the speed to beat Denny last year and has been good here since his rookie year for the last decade, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is very, very good at Pocono, and people just he's so good everywhere, people overlook how good he is here. So I think he's going to win.
Man, I've got my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pick still on the board, and they were pretty close when I was making them. I like Martin Truex Jr. this weekend.
That interests me because he's been just like that little bit off for about a month or so, but it's like he could have won Nashville.
He's in the top 5 even Chicago. He was top 5 at the end when he got turned by Stenhouse.
Good point.
Like, he's in the top 5 every week, and I think he was top 5 at Pocono last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong about that. But he's won here a few years back. He's good. I think Truex will be good.
The chat saying, hear ye, ring the bell. Christopher Bell is the chat's pick from what it's looking like. So this shocks me because this guy is 2nd on Danny's board. He's 3rd on mine. We left Tyler Reddick on the board this week.
I called an audible. He was one of my that's it. I literally stopped because Pocono, we see mistakes on restarts, guys, scary crashes into one, tunnel turn is tricky. I don't know. I'm going with the veteran.
I'd seen a bunch of others trying to make Harrison Burton the pick. We're not going to cheat the chat too much. But yeah, that is our Pocono prediction. And guys, we did hit the like goal, so we will extend the show a little longer. For the random driver of the week, it's gotten to this
time
point.
to lock in for the second time in a row.
Oh, there it is. There's the random driver of the week. Woo! All right, so
let's do this.
Hide the chat. You guys,
hide the chat. Hide your wife.
We're going honesty policy on this one.
Of course,
So.
no chat. I'm locked in. I'm right here. I'm looking right here.
So the last couple of weeks have actually been pretty quick. Eric, I believe, got the pick right in 8 clues last week, and Danny week before in 7. Eric's on a bit of a hot streak on random driver of the week. He has gotten 3 of the last 4 with Mike Stefanik, Mike Skinner, and Bobby Gerhart. Danny got 2 of the others in the last 5 in Kerry Earnhardt and Neil Bonnet. So here we go. This random driver competed in ASA, NASCAR, and USAC, among other series. So
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say it this early.
No, don't do it.
It gets me a little excited, but all right.
This random driver is a 2-time Xfinity Series winner. I love how even though we used this guy a long time ago, people are still wanting John D.L. Cale.
Well, you said ASA, so I mean, you did mention.
This random driver also did win 1 ARCA race. What was that?
Kind of wild. Really narrowed it down there.
This random driver broke their hip at the age of 8.
Get well soon,
Shattered
I guess. I mean, what the okay.
Chad hasn't gotten it yet, by the way. So
this must be a tough one. I mean, you've given us very little to go off of. That hip thing.
I have to stay undefeated in this. I can't lose.
Yeah.
That's right. You got which one do you get right, John?
Yeah. I know I got one right, but I don't remember which one. Mr. Kmart.
Jimmy Spencer.
There we go.
Yeah.
This random driver never raced in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Okay, so went ARCA to Xfinity, I guess.
Unless I've
If he did ASA and USAC, he's got to be on the older side.
This random driver has been compared to the likes of Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, AJ Foyt, and Mario Andretti.
Jeff Gordon.
That your guess?
Yes.
You're wrong.
Damn it.
How'd you get Jeff Gordon?
Didn't he ran USAC, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And didn't spend, how much time did he spend in Xfinity? He won more than 2 races.
I don't think he did ASA though.
No, he might not have.
Wait, is it ASA or ASA Stars? Because like there's a million other ASAs now. Wait, just ASA. Okay.
Some of the chat's got that.
Just one, or have they all got
a few have. This random driver won the 1990 Winston Open. That was their only year that they qualified for the Winston, by the way.
They do have some cup experience. All right.
This random driver competed in the NASCAR Cup Series from 1970 to 2002.
In the Cup Series, you said?
Cup Series.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's 32 years.
Mm-hmm.
Was he? There's no way he was full time during that.
No,
stint, right?
Right.
This random driver was the 1989 Rookie of the Year.
Wait a second.
So he wasn't full time until 1989.
He's 19 part-time years in Cup. That's before going full time. What on earth?
Okay.
All right.
This random driver mentored the likes of Rusty Wallace, Alan Kowicki, Mark Martin, and Kenny Wallace.
No, that guy has 4 wins. Okay, no.
You said, wait, who'd you say? Kulwicki and okay. Okay.
This random driver has been mentioned and or on the likes of Letterman, Days of Thunder, and That 70s Show.
Ooh.
I'm lost. I feel like I don't know.
This random driver was once quoted. It was once quoted by Rusty Wallace that this random driver was the greatest American race car driver ever.
He was his mentor.
Better than Ernie.
I'm going to feel like such an idiot if I say this.
I think I know it.
I feel like such an idiot.
I think I know it. I'm gonna let John guess.
No,
first.
I kind of want to let you go.
Dude, you got 3 guesses. Eric has 2. You guys can guess. It's
This
just,
one's going to probably be worse than the Cale Gale situation.
No, I think you're on the. I think you're on the right. I think you have it right.
The Days of Thunder has got me. Like, that's the one that's really getting me right now.
All right, you got 3 seconds. I'm gonna say it.
Trickle?
Damn it! It is Dick
Is it
Trickle.
Dick Trickle?
Is it Dick
Is that your
Trickle?
guess?
Yeah, that's my guess.
It's Dick Trickle. Isn't
John
it?
got it.
Damn it! I should have just blurted it out. We both
Days
got the
of Thunder
same time.
got
I
me.
told you, you guys had to blurt it out. You cannot be courteous
I was being a
to
good
each
sport.
other.
It sounded like he was about to say it.
I just did not want to
to
get thrown and dragged in the chat again. Like, I was like, there's no, like, when you said when it started, and then once you mentioned ASA and USAC and Days of Thunder, there's only one that came to mind.
When you mentioned Kulwicki and some of those guys, I'm like, oh, that would have been like Midwest probably, and I'm
Wow.
like Wisconsin. That's a Dick Trickle.
So-
Yeah,
That was a photo finish. Oh my gosh.
I think we got it literally like we got it the exact same time.
So there's a couple others I have on here, just interesting facts. Competed in an estimated 2,200 races. Used to race against Jimmy Fennig back when he was driving. Let's see some others here.
Oh, chat. I was just being nice. I could have been a dick and just jumped out in the line.
You could have
but
been a Dick Trickle.
I could have been a
He
Dick
was-
Trickle.
Nicknamed the White Knight. He had actually an off-track controversy with Dale Earnhardt in 1998. If you remember, Dale Earnhardt went on Letterman, and when it was
they just
10
made jokes about him or something.
well, no,
I
but
guess.
him and the
His
Trickle
name.
family weren't happy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because the number one was, who cares it took so damn long? At least my name ain't Dick Trickle. Let's see. Yeah, by the way, he also used to race with cigarettes and a cigarette lighter in the car so he could smoke under caution.
If you would have said that one for sure, I would have
Yeah,
said Dick
now
Trickle.
it's really.
I
Dick
saved that
Trickle.
for the end of it.
2002 is crazy though. I did not realize his career lasted that long.
Also, yeah. My fiance Riss, her sister is actually cousins with Dick Trickle. So, fun fact about me, in one way. And he also won an estimated 1,200 feature short track races. There was a summer, he won 67 from June to August, because he would race like 5 to 6 nights a week. But yeah, Dick Trickle, one of the greatest names, but also one of the greatest drivers ever. And I will fully go on board with that one with Rusty Wallace. Plus, if you want to just, one more thing is the Rockford Speedway, my old hometown track, he dominated it. Like, absolutely dominated the Rockford Speedway back in the day. I actually drove past there this past week. What's left of it. But yeah, Dick Trickle, the random driver of the week, which means that the guests, with John winning again, has now 5 correct. Danny and Eric will be tied another week, as they'll have to beat David Land next week. So that'll be a lot of fun.
2 for 2. How many times has the guest won?
5.
Ooh, I got
Yes.
2 of those.
Yep. You
You're
got
carrying
2.
the
Karen
guests.
over there.
David got 1.
That's not going to happen next week. I'm not letting him have another.
You guys got to
layup.
lock in next week. Keep that stat alive.
Paige got 1, and then
I gave Paige that one. I have been too generous this year.
you should have won like 3 or 4 more than you.
But
have.
you also gave. There was one I got. The Ron Keselowski. I didn't deserve that one.
no.
I got that one. I got that one by default.
There is no rule that you have to know who the person is. You just got to get the name right. But yeah, so we will we'll be doing that again. And then Jet got Ben Kennedy. So, but yeah, I'm just glad that we managed to get a fact from the second page this week. I was getting a little down on myself for having 15 combined clues in 2 weeks. All right, let's get to the final Super Chat stage break. A lot of people had a lot to say this week. Jamie Schweitzer here says, will Dale Jr. buy into RCR and bring the 8 font? I do not think so.
I would be shocked.
No.
Antar Das for the 5. I wanted SVG to smoke the field because there are levels to racing road courses. In my opinion, the quality of road course racing is mediocre. I know NASCAR is an oval series, but still. Who did you pick? There's still people like, who do we pick? You picked Bell.
Yeah, I had Bell.
And speaking of the devil, David Bell for the 2. Hope
Nice.
you fellows have a great week and weekend with a thumbs up and an American flag. Well, I think
Hope you have a wonderful weekend as well, Mr. Bell.
I think the chat definitely wishes that you guys have a wonderful weekend. Ty Bands, the Bowman fan for the 5. With the Chicago race keeps getting impacted by darkness, what if we just call it the 6 hours of Chicago, start the race at 12?
Just put a timer up the whole time. That'd be kind of fun.
They probably get good ratings too. Carl Singleton for the 5. How big of a fine does a driver deserve if they yell at their under 6-year-old child for interrupting them in a post-race interview? Oh, I know what that's referencing.
I have no idea what that's referencing.
Yeah.
4 race suspension. Parole.
Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 10. Josh Berry hit everything but the lottery. Yeah. TF Motorsports for the 20. Been listening to episodes for a year now during work, and I love each and every episode. Keep it up, guys, and let's get to the like goal, which we did, and I appreciate you listening. And I hope we never get you in trouble at work, because I'm pretty sure we've gotten people in trouble.
Yeah, I lagged out for a minute there, but I did want to say that was a very nice comment. We'd love to hear that. Appreciate the support.
SW for the 5. The biggest problem is why people take this way too seriously when it's Bubba Wallace, but any other driver, there's silence. It's a huge nothing burger.
No, you can tell. If you go to any comment section on any social media, there is a lot of very irrational Bubba Wallace extremism out there, which makes it, like Jared said earlier, we are the people in the middle actually having a logical conversation about it. There's unfortunately extremes on both sides that exist in every comment section known to man. So it is unfortunate that with Bubba in particular, you can't have a nuanced conversation on the internet.
There's a Facebook seeping into the rest of it.
Yeah.
Fred Dog 81 for the 5. Corey LaJoy has 12 top 10s and 282 Big 3 Series starts. Be sure, let's kill Rodney Childers' career by putting him with that hack loser. Damn.
Whoa. That's a little strong.
If anyone can get the best out of him, it's Rodney Childers.
I mean, Corey drove for BK Racing, go fast. Like, let's be real. You can look at the last 3 years and say, okay, maybe he could have done a little bit more. That's fair. But let's not go overboard. Goodness gracious.
Keenan says for the 5, being at the track, it was cool, but it shouldn't be a crown jewel event. I had mixed feelings, but I don't mind it. Hopefully they go to Daytona soon. I think he means for the 4th. That ain't going to happen because of the city. Yeah,
doesn't the city want Daytona on a different weekend?
They want it in August so they can have an extra month of bump up in tourism. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
and this also gets 4th of July. It already gets a crazy amount of demand.
Well, and to be fair, if you guys saw the recent video about some NASCAR stuff, the state of Florida has been pretty lenient, and Daytona has been pretty lenient to NASCAR. So I think NASCAR kind of threw him a bone with that too. Shorty PJM for the 548, screaming, "Alex, I died." To everyone who wants him gone, cheers. For 2 straight weeks, I think I'm the only Bubba fan that's stoked. A Bubba and a Bowman and a Logano fan. It's been a good couple weeks for the most part for you.
Yeah. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. Hoosier, not Hoser. Hoosier. It almost looks like Hoosier is what you're meaning for the 2. First super chat in the channel. I hate Pocono. Rather watch Richmond. Pocono's been way better than Richmond the last couple of years. I'm just gonna say it.
Pocono's great. Pocono's going through a renaissance. That's time to hop on the bandwagon.
I mean, last year I think was the biggest crowd in like 15 years. It was like over 100,000.
I was there 2 years ago and it was huge. It was I was
the infield. Don't sleep on the infield stuff. People talk about it all the time.
And the viewership too. It's like one of the few USA races that is pushing on that 3 million line. So like people like their Pocono, man. Especially at one date. Omar Lopez for the $4.99. Should Chicago be a night race in 2025? Thoughts? Well, if the city were to allow and they were able to get the proper lighting in there, sure, but that probably wouldn't help NASCAR when it came to time, I think, setup wise.
No, it's already so damn expensive. I don't think that it's realistic.
Bobby Blair for the 5. Xfinity Series put on the best racing in NASCAR every week, in my opinion. Does not matter the track. I'd say generally that's true. I mean, it had a slow start this year, but it has come on as of late.
Yeah, it can be mixed, but it's been overall probably the best.
I haven't seen this one in a while here. Edible Giraffe for the 5. Would have been nice if the traffic lights matched the caution lights.
Yeah, I thought it was wild. I was up in the grandstands for part of the Xfinity race, and I was like, oh, these traffic lights are all just turned on and like going through their normal cycles. Like, I thought that was kind of goofy.
It's like Bubba and Bowman show up at one of them, and the stoplight, it's just extra long, like those ones do.
Yeah.
NASCARson for the 10. Hey, NWP. Chicago Street Race, Xfinity, best race of the weekend with SVG and Larson. Cup, everything before the race, like concerts, was so awesome in person. Cup weather race sucked, and glad I left early. Ooh,
rough.
Oh my.
It does suck to leave early, but weather can cause that as much as it does suck. Too tough, too tame for the 5. Hello, Jarrett. Me and my friends sponsored lap 30 for the Slinger Nationals. We are now the Craig Council hate group. Love being first place Brewers. Well, that should be nice with that empty trophy case. Corbin for the 5. But I will say the Slinger stuff is pretty damn cool, man.
That is kind of fun. I didn't even see who won Slinger yesterday. Let me look it up.
I was so busy yesterday.
I wanted to watch and then I just could not. But I love the Slinger Nationals. Who won it this year? Brad Mueller. I didn't.
Brad Mueller.
The first headline I read is Ty Majeski and Ryan Preece among the victims of a chaotic Slinger Nationals. So
man, even the short track scene, Preece can't get a break.
What did I miss? All right, I'm gonna watch.
There was a huge wreck, like rolling down the one.
Oh yeah, or is this Prunty? Some of these guys are destroyed. Majeski's car's destroyed. Oh my god.
How about that crowd though?
The Slinger, when I was there a few years ago, granted Kenseth was racing, but it was awesome crowd. That was so cool.
By the way, in the chat, Nap Racing Fan brings up something here. TNT has 5 days to match the offer for the NBA rights, or they lose it to either ESPN, NBC, or Amazon. That could really affect the promotion for NASCAR next year. Like that really, really could, because that cross promotion would be very big. So that's something to watch.
I'm watching the replay of the big wreck. Ryan Preece on lap 5 did he get bumped or did he go wide? He just went wide, sailed it in too far, hit the wall, jacked everyone up, and they all plowed into each other.
Oh, Giro wreck too.
Come on, Preece.
All right, let's see here. Corbin here for the 5. Corey Heim has 42 top 10s and 64 starts and 9 truck wins across all 3 series. Is this the best start for a driver's career since Denny Hamlin?
It's got to be up there. His average finish numbers are just ridiculous considering how young he is and how crazy the truck series can be.
I would say I think William Byron in the lower series is pretty damn good too. I mean, he was on fire before he went to Cup. I mean, it's up there. It's definitely up there. Let's see what else here. NASCARson for the 5 here. Hey guys, I'll be at the Pocono race weekend. Anyone else going? Eric, anything I should check out while at the race since you've been to Pocono before?
I didn't get to explore much of the surrounding area. I'm trying to think. The track itself, it's very nice. I don't know. I assume you're probably not camping out, but I know the campgrounds are very, very well I'm probably like, yeah. The
You're
campgrounds
the
are,
staring right into our soul.
I'm doing my best. The campgrounds are nice. The campgrounds are good. Outside of the track, I didn't get to see much, but I would just try to take it all in as usual.
Last couple here. CBB for the 5. Since Danny isn't here this week, does that mean NWP will be consumed by? I don't know what you're saying here, man. No offense. I'm just trying to read it here. By the will they, won't they drama for pick point waivers. Oh, okay. I know what you're getting at. Well, will we have a waiver controversy for Danny?
Yeah, I don't know. He's gonna have to grovel to be let back on the show next week. He better bring me back something from Disney World.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just let it go for like into the Olympic break. You know, we'll take it to the highest levels of NWP. Well, we'll do that. How about that? Blake for the 5. Do you keep track of the guest predictions when they return? I think it'd be fun. We probably should. We probably should.
But Jarrett, you got so much on your plate already.
It's just a matter of like, I don't know. We've thought about this in the past. We've talked about it. Like maybe at some point to fill in, we'll do guests / maybe like people in the audience can come on for the 5 minutes we do that segment. We'll figure it out at some point. Probably nothing for this year, but maybe that's something for next year. We'll figure it out. But in the future, we might be able to. Rowdy 8 diecasts for the 2. Who's going to Indy? Any suggestions for the first time? Well, for one, don't go driving after dark. That's a mistake I made. Other than that, though, just explore everything. I mean, it's just everything there. It's worth taking the extra time. And I never was the biggest fan of NASCAR at Indianapolis growing up. I did not appreciate it because the racing wasn't all that great. But being there in person, even for the road course race, it felt like a once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure opening ceremonies they'll go all out for it. So that would be get a good view of that.
Oh my. Fred Dog 81 left another $5 super chat to just nail and drive it in home to how he feels about Corey LaJoie, saying that he hates him that much. Hate him.
Why?
And then says some other stuff that I'm not going to read. But not a fan of Corey LaJoie. I like Corey's personality. I think he's a good dude.
He's chill. Corey's a nice guy.
Yeah. Corey's the one that carbon dated my Winston Cup hat to 1982 or 81 in that range at Road America a couple years back.
Carbon dated.
It's true though. That thing is ancient, man. And Mittens the racing cap for the 5. I believe this is the last one of the night. Mitten says hi after many weeks of missing it. Can I get a Joey, I love you for last week? That's the closest you're going to get. I ain't singing that.
Joey. That's all you got.
You're going to get like a soul version of it here? Like Joey.
Joey Logano.
I love you. This is one off the rails, man. This is already a late show. We've went off the rails with it. And I think that's going to cover it. Is there anything else? I think we're good. We're good. All right. Remember.
Tip your waiter.
Yes, that too. But next week, we will be on Eric's channel. July 17th, Wednesday night. Mittens for the 2 is saying sing it.
Sing it, Donna.
Joey, I love you. But we'll be on Eric's channel July 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, joined by special guest David Land. I think I'll wear my noon shirt next week. Just special. Noon. I love that shirt. It's just noon made up by a bunch of small noons. Very creative. But thank you guys so much for coming on in tonight. It has been a ton of fun. Thank you, John, for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
This guy just stuck it out with us for almost 3 hours. Respect.
Yeah. Respect for Ramos.
Ramos.
All right, I think that's a good place to end off. Real quick, Shorty PGM up to 10:23. Bubba Wallace, I agree with that. Fine. F the crazies.
That's about it. Yeah, there are a lot of crazies out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're gonna sign off now. I think we all just need to go to bed. So Good night.
Decompress.
Decompress, go to bed, all that. Good night. See you on Eric's channel. Bye-bye. Bye.
See ya.
Intro. Introduction.
Wouldn't want to be
Drivers, start your engines! Green flag, all rolling. All the way out, stay in, come on. Bye-bye, on in, see you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging, stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why you wait so long, man? Bottom clear, shaking you down here. White flag, hit your mark.